Hello, everybody. We will get started momentarily. See, we got a lot of people coming in as they get their reminders hitting their computers. So, just a moment, we'll get started.
Mhm. Huh.
All right. It's a couple minutes after, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to our Digital Delivery Stakeholder Group virtual meeting. This is our second set of meetings for the DDSG as we try to get into a regular cadence and get our legs underneath us to move forward and understand what's going on in the community. We did have our inaugural meeting last October, and we'll touch on some of those items that we covered then. Unfortunately, it fell at a time in the calendar where there was a lot of the budget negotiations happening at the national and federal level. And so I and some of the other Federal Highway Administration team involved with the project were unable to participate. Fortunately, we had Roger and Mona in the NIBS team, the National Institute for Building Science, on our support contract help us through that and was able to still execute our inaugural meeting despite my inability to participate. But I'm happy to be here in front of you today to discuss the DDSG and the efforts moving forward, recognizing that our audience is definitely growing and has grown even from our inaugural meeting. So we will try to touch on some background items when appropriate without getting into more repeating things from the previous meetings. Some of the members that have been engaged from the get-go might find some of it redundant, but as we build momentum and build out our audience, I want to make sure that we're bringing everybody up along with us in the discussions. Before introducing everybody on the DDSG and doing a roll call, I will have Roger forward to our standard disclaimer just for the record on the next slide. Basically, this is saying that what we're discussing is really the opinions of each individual's presenter. They don't represent the voice of our agency or reflect any kind of official policy by Federal Highway, the US DOT, and that any discussion on manufacturers or company names, trademarks, etc., are just for the sake of open discussion and essential to the conversation when we talk about activities around the country, but only for informational purposes and don't reflect any preference or endorsement of any said product or company. All right.
Matt, maybe this is a point. I don't know if we said that we are recording the meeting today, so everyone is aware of that, or maybe you were going to get to it, but being
Yeah,
as it's
thanks.
a kind of a disclaimer, it's a
A-
good.
a- Absolutely. Yeah. Hopefully you all got a notice when you came into the meeting, but we are recording. We do plan to make these recordings available publicly for general use. We'll touch on how we're going to do that and some of our mechanisms to get information out to everybody through websites and other correspondence as we move forward. But yeah, thanks, Roger, for highlighting that. If you do not agree to, I guess, be recorded in any way or fashion, then you always have the option to remove yourself or leave the meeting. I hope that us recording it does not discourage any conversation or discourse, because our intention is to have open dialogue and be able to speak openly about what's going on around the country with regards to digital delivery and progress, and understand where challenges and things are happening, and kind of the state of the community. Um, Next slide, Roger. Yeah. So I'm Matt Corrigan. I'm Federal Highway Administration. I'm in our Office of Infrastructure Analysis and Construction team, rather the team within the Office of Research and Development here at Turner Fairbank Highway Research Center, which is located in Northern Virginia, just outside of the Washington, D.C. area. Again, we have the National Institute for Building Science is helping us with a support contract to manage the efforts in the group. So we've got Roger and Rackley and Mona participating as well, and they'll be helping with logistics and through some of our interactions and use of Menti and Mural and some of the other mechanisms that we're looking to have that dialogue and feedback and make sure that we give everybody an opportunity to have a voice. If you are, listening and you do want to provide any questions or comments or perspectives, we definitely want to encourage that. And so, you can raise your hand within the Zoom platform and queue up, and we'll make sure through the help of the NIB staff that we get that interaction and give you the ability to come into the conversation as well.
And alternatively, Matt, people can put things in the chat and we will see them there as well. And that can be in addition to speaking, it's not one or the other. So the chat's another way to reach out during the meeting. And we'll be talking about a couple of other um, tools we're going to use for engagement and interaction in a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, again, we these meetings are open, and we're really, anxious to make sure that we have open dialogue and give everybody the opportunity to participate, however you choose, whether it's through the chat or raising your hand or through Miro and Menti and the other mechanisms that we'll get to. Thanks, Roger, for the reminder. And so we do have what we would consider a core membership of the digital delivery stakeholder group. The members are indicated here. It represents diversity of state agencies as well as industry perspectives through some of the association that are listed. We wanted to make sure that we had not only a broad range of maturity um, in their digital delivery journey, if you will, from those that are very much advancing and at the forefront of these initiatives, as well as those that are just starting their journey. There is some obvious, I think, regional distribution that you'll see here as well as ensuring that we've got some cross-pollination and representation on the various AASHTO technical committees that are working in this space. And again, the industry partnerships. Now, some of the associations, we did ask for them to determine who is going to represent them as an entity. And so those individuals are really speaking on behalf of their association and larger community, and helping us to engage with them and understand those industry perspectives as well, which is very important here. I'm going to use this list just to go down. These members here are also represented as panelists, so those of you who got the panelist invitations, you have the ability to come in and unmute yourself or share your video as you feel comfortable. But I'm just going to use this opportunity and this list to go down and do a roll call for us to just to take record of who's online. So as I go down through the list and mention your name, feel free just to unmute yourself and say hello and introduce yourself to the group and the audience at large.
Hey,
So
Matt, one
yeah,
one other thing might be if for some reason we didn't get you as a panelist and you're out there, please raise your hand and we'll promote you up to panelist and connect with you if one of the members maybe we missed out on that somehow.
yeah, excellent, good, good notice. Um, I'll just start at the top. This isn't the only order that this is basically alphabetical. So don't worry about any kind of organizational listing here or first is not the most important, although Cassidy is very important to the conversation. But um, Cassidy, are you on?
I am, and you're stealing all my jokes.
Hi,
No, I'm
Cassidy.
Cassidy Blowers. I'm a Dell.'s construction resource engineer, which means I'm in charge of a lot of our digital delivery efforts and coordinating them with other sections of the department. I'm also on Committee on Construction. I'm the chair of the Innovative Construction Technology Committee and also on JSON.
Thanks, Cassidy. Rick Price. I think Rick said he was gonna miss one of these meetings. I know Katie's on. Katie?
Yes, I am here. My name is Katie Brown. I am the State Digital Delivery Engineer for Oklahoma DOT.
Katie. And Cindy? Cindy might have said she was going to have somebody else represent her.
Uh, Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. I'm Brian McInnes. Cindy actually asked that if I could stand in for her today, and represent on behalf of ARPA and our board membership there.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Welcome.
thank
Uh,
you.
Will Holmes? Will. Don't see Will on the panelist. Ian? Is Ian online? No, Ian. Carrie?
I think we got regrets from Carrie. Um, yeah, yeah.
Okay. And Jennifer? Jennifer. Oh, Kevin. Alan. I see Alan.
I am here. Alan Melly. I am the chief of the digital delivery section at the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation.
Alan. Devin?
Good morning, Devin Poor. I am the Caltrans BIMFRI program director and the lead for our digital delivery and BIM efforts within the department.
Devin. And Jonathan.
Good afternoon, everybody. Jonathan Porter with AGC of America. I'm the Highway and Transportation Division Director.
Thanks, Jonathan. And Charlie.
Hello, everybody. I'm Charlie Purcell. I serve as the Deputy Director of our Transportation Development Division here at Iowa DOT, and I also serve as our Executive Champion for our digital delivery efforts.
And Dan. Don't see Dan. Trisha.
Hi, everybody. Tricia Stefanski, Minnesota Department of Transportation. I direct our Asset Management Office. I'm also chair of JSTAN. I'll talk about that a little bit later, so stick with us, as well as I'm co-chair of Building Smart Roads and Bridges USA.
Welcome, Trisha. Jacob.
Good morning, everyone. Jacob Tambunga, Director of Digital Delivery for Texas Department of Transportation. Glad to meet all of y'all.
And Brad. No, Brad. Okay. Yeah, so that's the official membership, but again, we want to make sure that we're engaging, holistically. We did plan this meeting as all virtual. We'll talk about some planning in future meetings. Our goal is to have in-person hybrid meetings, as well as virtual meetings in between those, on a regular cadence. So this being our second meeting is just a virtual presentation, but we will have an opportunity to kind of get on site at some other venues, for us to concentrate. So we broke the meeting up as a virtual meeting into 3 sessions over 3 days to hopefully facilitate participation and recognizing that there's it's hard to get everybody, especially when you're virtual, to dedicate an entire day or a couple days online. So but we can discuss that moving forward, as far as what's most useful for the membership to continue our meetings. The purpose for this meeting is just to continue efforts as a collaborative initiative, where we want to integrate all these different areas of digital delivery across the country, and understand where everybody's at and where the activities are and where there are opportunities for addressing either gaps or things that could be strengthened, etc. So, and again, just reemphasizing that it's an open group and open meeting. So we're not, meeting behind closed doors, and it's really meant to really engage everybody in the community. But and for our agenda today, we do have the broken up over the next 3 days. Session 1, today was really primarily targeted at us, kind of going over what we did at the last meeting, which was really kind of just to set the stage and get everybody at a base level with a lot of efforts and activities, that you will hear some updates today as well. The AASHTO efforts through their committees, as Tricia had mentioned, and Jennifer involved specifically, will likely have a regular occurrence during our meetings to give us update, and also have an understanding from them how this group can help them with their efforts, and how they can leverage us to participate in any of their efforts moving forward, or any of their products and things that are being developed and delivered as well. The rest of the meeting agenda over the next 2 days, with session 2 and session 3, our intent was to have an item where we're addressing 2 very major significant pooled transportation pooled fund, or TPF, efforts that are being done at a national level that involve a lot of state DOTs and have contributed funding in order to advance both BIM for bridges and structures, or the BIM FB nomenclature, as well as the BIM for infrastructure, or BIM FI. TPFs, transportation pooled funds. We were going to do that one day and then pivot and give some opportunities to discuss some of our ADCMS grant efforts that are being done by a lot of the states that tie into a lot of the digital delivery efforts as well. From a timing perspective, we did have to mix them up. So we have a little bit of both those areas on the next 2 days in order to accommodate people's schedules. And so we're happy that everybody was able to make some adjustments and help us to figure out the appropriate scheduling. But that's what we have on the agenda the next few days, in case you're trying to strategize, your involvement, or where you want to participate. Hopefully we can get your attention throughout all 3 of those and contribute, but we understand that everybody's facing a lot of activities and time constraints, and so you may not be able to. Roger, you want to touch on the other engagement efforts that we have set up?
Yeah, we're going to use Mentimeter and Mural during our meeting today to um, also hear from you all out there and engage with you. So the first thing we wanted to do is introduce the Mentimeter and get everyone into it and let you give us a little bit of information about you all that are out there in the audience so we can know about your background. So if you can you can either scan this QR with your phone. We can drop that URL into the chat. Whoops, I don't know if I can do it from my. Rackley, can you drop that URL in the chat for the Menti? Are you
Is
able to get that? I don't think it'll let me do it while I'm in presentation mode to copy it.
it's in
Uh,
the chat, Roger.
okay, so you can either use the QR, click on the link in the chat, or go to Menti and put in the access code, and that should get you to the first question. Um, maybe let's see, Mona, is there anything else you want to say about that? I guess it would be good if I got that on the screen, though, right? So we can
Yeah, I
answer.
can share my screen here if you'd like. So we're
Okay, why don't you do that?
all
Yeah.
right. So I've sent the request and it just so everybody knows, if you go to menti.com, you can dial in 8862 1750. It looks like a lot of you are in there. We've got 61 folks from the state DOTs, 12 federal highway, 10
Can
consultants.
you show, we're not seeing your screen, Mona, if you think you're sharing.
All right. I've submitted the request to share.
Well, you have,
Yeah,
I relinquished, so if you go
All
to
right.
share in the bottom, yeah,
Can you see it? There we
now
are.
we can.
All right, outstanding. So I see all of the results coming in again, code 8862 1750 at menti.com. And we'll have a few more survey questions here in a little bit, but for now, it'll give us a good understanding of who's participating and, the basic representation of all of the folks here. It's great to see more than 200 people on the call today, so that's fantastic. So if you can get in, that would be awesome. You could use it on your computer or your phone. You can scan the QR code or go on your phone to menti.com, code 8862 1750.
All right, thanks. We'll keep
Roger,
this question open.
Roger and Rackley, I'm getting some correspondence outside of this meeting that says that the chat is disabled for the participants.
Oh, that shouldn't be
It's
so.
interesting.
Let's
Um,
see.
So perhaps we can figure
we
that
can
out.
work on that as we're going along here. Okay, I will. That's good. Good distribution, and it also helps us look at the areas where we want to keep building involvement. So this is very helpful. Let's go. I'll go back to the slides. Yeah.
I've enabled it. Um, I thought I had preset that, but I guess not. But it seems to be resolved now.
Great. Yeah,
Share.
looks like we got some. Perfect. I see somebody's got their hand raised. Is that Brant Vermeer? I'm not sure if that's intentional at this point or accidental. And nope. Jacob, there's lots of hands.
All right. Are we set with that? We can now talk about the other engagement tool we want to use, and that's Mural. And we're going to do a little overview of Mural and show you what we've set up, get you in there, show you what we've set up, and encourage you to engage with it and use it. Brackley, do you want me to show it and you uh, uh, I can follow you, or do you want to take
I can take it over.
control? Okay. Then you can, I'll stop sharing and you can share.
Alrighty. Is this coming through okay?
I'm seeing it. Yes.
Okay. Let me quickly drop the link into the barrel link into the chat really quick, just so that everybody can join it more easily. There we are.
Did that go? Let's see. Yeah, that chat went to everyone, right?
I believe so.
Okay. Now a few people are saying nope, because it said it went to
Oh,
panelists to me, so maybe it's where I
interesting.
can try and get it in there if that while you're getting started, Bradley.
Oh, well, it said it went to hosts and panelists. Oh, hosts and panelists, not everyone. Fantastic.
Okay, it should be
Here we
out there
go.
now.
Everyone's
It's out
flooding in.
there, yeah.
Fantastic. Let's celebrate with some confetti. That seems fun. Right, so we'll just give it. So wait for me to see how many people are in. At the 72. Yeah, so we'll
pretty
give it a
good.
minute. Right. So first order of business, this is a collaborative space. So the very first thing we want to do, because there are so many people in here, is we kindly ask that you turn off your mouse tracers because it's really hard to see where all the pointers are, zooming around everywhere. To do that, you go down to the bottom here, you zoom over your icon, which will be the farthest left one, and you deselect broadcast my cursor. So if everybody could do that, just so that there's not 2 million little cursors zooming all over the place, that would be excellent. Yeah, and there's lots of interesting ways to react. I mean, there's a reaction button. You can do confetti and all kinds of stuff. Just as we go through this, there's lots of ways to use the draw tool, but mainly what we're going to be working with are sticky notes. Right, exactly. So there, as we go through this, we have different different items on here. We have the agenda for the 3 different meetings. If we look over here, today's meeting is marked in green here. In fact, I can ask you to be followed, so you can all follow what I'm looking at as you're looking at this. So if you would all accept that, that would be probably more convenient than trying to watch both things at the same time.
And yeah, if you put a post it where you don't want it, you can just highlight it and right shift
Delete
and
it.
delete it. Yeah.
Right. So the idea behind this is to have a continuous workspace where we can do collaboration. So for example, this right here, just general meeting comments. Like if something's working, you like something, ideas for next meetings, ideas for the mural, unanswered questions, feel free to drop those in here. You can sign it with your name if it's something you would want to be attributed to you. If you want to stay anonymous, that's also okay. When you sign into this, you automatically are anonymized unless you specify a name. You'll be given an animal name of some sort. Yes, if you do make if you double click, it makes a sticky note. If you leave it somewhere you don't want it, it's very easy to delete it. You just click on it again and hit delete. So yeah, if there's comments you want to leave, feel free to use this. And as I move down here, you'll see that we have on different slides we're about to see comments, questions, concerns. You can leave sticky notes in this green box here. You can resize your sticky note. You can change the color of it, the font size. You can add icons to it on the left here. There's all kinds of things you can do. It's pretty fun. So we have stuff for BIM modeling. We'll have things for the website we'll be talking about, the Chicago meeting, other dates. If there's calendar dates that are not on this calendar that you want to make known, you can add them here. We'll be talking about previous survey results. We'll get back to the Mentimeter later. Yes, hello to you as well. And then talking about JSTAN and JTCES. So this is what we're going to be doing for the 3 different meetings. Right now, we just have today's. And I just want to make sure that we realize that this will carry over between meetings. And we're hoping that this mural can become a place where we can collaborate in even smaller groups on different issues. This is permanent. That link you just got, consider saving it because you can always come back to this. It will always be here. And as we build this out, we'll have sections all over the place where you can feel free to, collaborate with other people and leave notes, and it's really great. There's lots of incredible templates available in here to help that. You don't have to build all these things yourself. And I think that's everything for the mural. Feel free to use this as the meeting is going on to leave comments and feedback. Of course, we also have the chat and raising your hand. I apologize that I've been talking for so long, but I think that's everything with mural. Roger, do you have any other notes? Matt?
No, this is helpful. I think some people probably aren't as familiar with mural, so thanks for that kind of brief primer. Just a reminder again, as people come in, because it can get very busy with all the cursors. If you go down and the bottom and identify your cursor, you can toggle off broadcast your cursor, and that'll make it a little less cluttered, if you will. And then, like when Rackley's in there, or if we're in there on a specific area, if you want to follow them, you can select somebody and you can follow them that way. You can follow along as they're scrolling and moving versus you trying to keep up as well. So that makes it a little bit easier. But as we go through the rest of the presentations, and you'll see those slides represented in an area if you want to provide comments or sticky notes in those areas, as well as our other engagement activities, it would be great. And let's see, we're getting some webinar chat. Somebody said about an echo. I'm not having any audio issues on my end, so that may be the user's issue with regards to echo. That doesn't seem to be an issue for me hearing any of the NIB staff or following along.
Same here.
And Julie's asking about how to follow again. So that's in mural. I think if you go down to the bottom of your mural, hopefully you've got multiple screens going, because it's probably difficult to have, if you're just on a laptop screen or a single screen, to be able to use these. But if you've got multiple screens and you leave mural and the Menti up throughout, it'll be easier for you to access. But in mural, if you go down to the bottom where the icons are, if you want to follow somebody, Rackley is there, like I was following him, but you can basically click on Rackley RW and select follow Rackley Wren, or you could follow anybody else for that matter, I guess, and then you'll just follow along as they navigate through the site.
And I like the crowdsource too. There are certainly people out there that use Mural. You can help others with questions in the chat. We appreciate that. So, all right, shall we move on? We'll come back to Mural. We know it takes a little while, people to get checked out on it sometimes, but don't be afraid. You can't break anything. And the idea is try to give your input to things as we go through, as Matt said.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah, and I think primarily too, the sticky notes are probably the most effective way to do that. And so on that left toolbar, there is the sticky note icon. that you can click on and you can select, size or color. So for example, where, Rackley's at in the four quadrants, there's colors for each of those quadrants if you want to match up with those colors to make it a little easier to sort those. If not, and they're just in that quadrant, I think we can figure it out. But the sticky note icon on the left bar will allow you to make those changes as well. And certainly if you want to be anonymous, you can do that, but we would encourage you to identify yourself. It just helps us to be able to understand positions and the perspectives and other things as we continue to track our activities and where areas of importance or emerging areas are, or maybe less urgent areas, so we can help prioritize those things as well.
Okay, is my screen coming through?
It is, Roger. Yes.
Yeah, good.
So to kind of recap, kind of where we're at today, and I know the members, this is going to be little bit of redundancy, but to get everybody caught up again, our first meeting was very concise. I had a short window of time. We were at the IHEAP meeting to leverage a lot of the attendance that generates, especially with our members in digital delivery. But it really just was given an opportunity for us to set the stage with the AASHTO committees, with some of the programmatic areas, have the associations provide their perspectives, and most of the associations that have membership have policy statements, endorsing and supporting digital delivery. If you're involved through those associations, you may already be aware of those, but they can certainly point you to those policy statements or endorsements as needed. I would encourage you to reach out to your association member if you need to do that. But as far as why we're here, on the next slide, Roger, these are kind of the core elements, and we do have a charter that's been established that kind of lays out these kind of things: purpose, objectives, kind of the scope, who we are, as well as who we are not. And some of the logistics as far as membership that I mentioned, and meetings. The link is at the bottom. We'll have to duplicate that, Roger, in the chat if we can, so people can access the charter. But that will give you all the details that you see concisely put up here in bullet form. Probably not necessarily more important than who we are, but certainly needing to recognize who we are or what we're not interested in discussing is for example, we're not here to discuss things that would be considered market competition and pricing and things that competitive space. We are not established under the Federal Advisory Committee, meaning the Federal Advisory Committee Act, which is in United States Code, has a very formal requirements. If the DDSG was formed in order to solicit guidance to Federal Highway or the US DOT, and or any of the administrations and modes. And so we are not established under that. So we are not soliciting, nor are we going to, entertain if somebody is going to try to provide any kind of advice to us as an agency. That's not something that we are going to do during this meeting. So I think it's important to highlight that there's a lot of great things that we anticipate being able to do, but that is one of the areas that we have to be cognizant of with regards to the Federal Advisory Committee Act. So I do want to highlight that. That's also highlighted in the charter. All the members are listed on the charter as well. So if you've got a need to reach out or follow up on who the membership is, you'll see that. And there is an ethics statement that pretty much everybody's agreed to as participation in, reaffirming, that ethics statement to make sure that we're all endeavoring to be, open and productive and honest enterprise. Roger, is there anything here you feel like we need to go into more detail at this stage?
No, maybe just to highlight, that, I mean, Federal Highways established this group as a way to collaborate together and to try to leverage all the things that are going on and reduce any duplications and share information and highlight the critical activities. And, it's meant to be a group for us in the industry to leverage and use. We're trying to like facilitate it, bring it together, but it's really your group in a way, or everyone that's here to take advantage of and use them. So we hope you all kind of, participated in it with that spirit in mind. That takes a little while to maybe get in place, but that's the goal. So I think keeping that in mind is really helpful and important.
Thanks, Roger. And some of you may be asking, I guess, like what is digital delivery? And we did, try to address that within the charter as well, within the first page of the document. It certainly is very broad. There are a lot of efforts and activities, under this umbrella of digital delivery, and they're all in various stages of maturity and use. And so we recognize that, this is a big endeavor, and, this meeting is really your meeting as well, to have that conversation and dialogue. We don't want to just dictate, to the audience what we're doing, but we also want to hear what's going on, from your perspective and your part of industry and agency and business use and business need case. Within digital delivery, but it is definitely a broad area because it covers so many aspects of, an asset from, planning all the way through asset management, maintenance, decommissioning, and the next project as well. To restate kind of the vision, if you will, this comes underneath what we published not too long ago, the Advancing BIM for Infrastructure National Strategic Roadmap. You can access that at the Rosa P repository. That address there. I know you can't click on it again. Roger, could we maybe get that link posted in the chat as well?
Yeah, Rackley, you can do that. I can't copy paste while I'm in present mode.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks.
The BIM for Infrastructure National Strategic Roadmap. This is where this graphic comes out of it. It kind of sets, kind of that baseline and vision that we're all working towards. We are planning to revisit this document and dive into it a little more detail to see how we've progressed. There are kind of maturity measures, if you will, and so we want to understand kind of the level of maturity or how we've progressed even in the short time since this document was published, but also as we move forward. There are some agencies and parts of industry that are very much further ahead than other parts. But we will be revisiting this roadmap because it does really kind of set the baseline, if you will, of the expectations and where we're looking to move moving forward. And it's often also referenced when it comes to other activities that we have in place at the national level, whether it's through funding and grant mechanisms through the ADCMS grant program or other efforts. And we expect that there's going to be other opportunities for us to revisit and maybe update this roadmap moving forward. It's not necessarily, I think, envisioned to be static and one time and be done, since we will definitely be learning more as we move forward about where people's activities are and where their level of maturity is. And we may even identify areas that we need to strengthen or provide more detail. And we are planning at our next meeting to go a little bit deeper dive into this roadmap item more specifically. If you have not had the opportunity to digest that, I encourage you to do that. Again, it's a lot of good information. In fact, I need to go back and reread it myself. It's been a little bit a while since I read through it and detailed it when we were, working to develop the DDSG and get it off the ground. And I always glean more nuggets of insight or other details as I continue to digest it in more detail.
And it could be helpful. NIBS had a webinar a couple of months ago now that Terry Klein from Infotech and I presented on the roadmap. So you can find that in NIBS site, archives of events might be a way to get a refresher on it. We can put that link, make that link available to people too, when we get a chance.
Thanks, Roger. And so some of the things that that has happened in the short amount of time is certainly we initiated the DDSG and solicited the membership and got agreement to try and get up off the ground. And we had our inaugural meeting at IHEAP. We do have resources available for everybody to access that information, and we intend to continue to update it with recordings and presentations moving forward. You can find that information at our Digital Delivery Stakeholder Hub. That address is there on the screen as well in the webinar chat. And if you are just searching, online, if you put Digital Delivery Stakeholder Group or DDSG, you may not get to the page. I've found that in my experience, if I add hub and I specifically include hub in the search query, usually it pops right up. So just a little nugget of insight if you're just using a search functionality within a browser is to include the hub, and it should pop up then for you to bookmark or whatever. Of course, planning our, the meeting today that we have split across the 3 days, the 22nd, 26th, and 28th. And then we have a third meeting that is going to be our hybrid joint in person and virtual. Again, our meetings are intended to be open. We will have a virtual component for everyone, but we also have resources through our support contract for the DOT members for us to be on site together in order to continue to foster that collaboration and dialogue, and recognizing that it's often easier for us to concentrate, when we can get away from our regular office duties and all the things that pull us in multiple directions and make it difficult to sometimes be fully engaged in a virtual only setting, in that on-site and hybrid. We are co-locating with the AASHTO GIST conference. Has been an annual item of the GIS portion of transportation community. We are leveraging that as an opportunity for us to engage with them, for those of us on site that might be able to have additional resources from our own agencies to participate in the GIS conference. Plan to that is the preceding week leading up to this meeting, and then at the end, leveraging those that are on site and engaging GIS to be able to participate with us on that Thursday afternoon, the 19th, and the Monday of the Friday, the 20th. Those registration items are posted on the hub location as well. So if you go to the hub and you find our upcoming meetings, you'll see the registration details for this hybrid one. Just be aware that there are two registration mechanisms. One, if you're going to be participating virtual, and the other, if you're planning to be on site. And there's registration and hotel room information through the AASHTO room block if you plan to be on site and make those arrangements. So those are two separate registration mechanisms that are posted on the hub. And we will continue to plan for additional meetings. I certainly appreciate the grace that's been extended to us by the DDSG membership. Our goal is to make sure that we're, getting information out both to the members and the broader community much earlier than what we've been able to do for these first couple of meetings as we get into that regular cadence. So I appreciate that grace, but we will be trying to get planning and get dates locked down and locations, and we'll discuss that in more detail towards the end of today as we wrap up and re-engage the actual members on a few of those items to make sure we're moving in a direction that allows the majority of us to be able to participate as much as possible. And thanks again to Roger and staff for helping prop up our hub.
Yeah, maybe I'll just give a quick view of the hub, Matt, to show people a couple of things quickly. I think we'll drop the URL in the chat. Note that we also have this in the mural. If you're still in the mural and you want to leave us any comments on the hub, we welcome that, and would be happy to respond to those. Let me see. Here's the home page of the hub that you'll find. A couple of quick things. Across the top here, this is inside NIBS site. So these things are NIBS wrapper, but these things are all about the DDSG hub. And let's say you want to see the objectives of the DDSG. If you come down here, you can find them. But one little thing we haven't solved yet is that when you're in this section and you use these tabs, it will give you information. And those same tabs are the ones that are up here, but it takes a double click. That wasn't a good example. I want to show you where the resources are. So if I come down here, it's still on community. I have to click resources again. We're trying to find a solution to that, but we mentioned before the charter. The charter is available here. Also, all the presentations from our first event are here, and the recording is, I guess it isn't posted yet. We had some trouble with splitting it up to process it, but we will get that on there anytime now. And then the events are listed here so that you can register for those, as Matt was talking about. And finally, you can get involved and leave your name on here for us, and that way we can make sure we communicate with you about when meetings are coming, any new things the group is doing, etc. And we'll be adding more things to this site as we go forward. That's the DDSG site. Yeah, if you want to look at it and leave us any comments, we appreciate them. I think that's a good overview of what's there. And so now I guess we wanted to just flag, you've already kind of talked about it, right, Matt, our upcoming meeting, and we wanted to come back to that at the end of the day and do a little bit of discussion about the agenda, which is just a very high level preliminary thing so far.
Yeah, and again, just we expect that there's going to be some standing items because of the importance and the amount of activities, such as the transportation pooled fund studies and items. We're going to hear from them throughout the next couple of meetings that we have scheduled here to discuss their activities and how we can engage with them and how we can provide any resources or review or perspectives as a community that they might need, and other activities as well that with how broad the topic is there's a lot of activities going on, and we want to hear from the community. So, if there are other research efforts, whether it's through National Cooperative Highway Research Program that dovetails into this area, or a state, led research with one of their academic institutions, or other industry, efforts and items to highlight. We certainly want to hear about those and have an opportunity, to provide any comments or feedback on those items as well. Devin, I see your hand up. You want to go ahead and come on?
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say, Roger, I don't know if they fixed it since the last time, because when I scrolled down, I clicked on the resources tab, it showed up right away, but it seems as though you just have two separate banners on the same page, and the top banner where you click resources, it just moves you to the bottom of the page, and then regardless, you have to
Yeah,
click. That's why.
yeah, sorry, Devin. That's what I tried to point out. We're trying to fix that, but we haven't found a quick solution for it yet. So that when you click up here, it will coordinate with resources down here. The way it's currently set up is when you click up here on, let's say we want to see the objectives, but it's still showing the resources. It highlighted this box, but you have to click on it. So I know that's a little inconvenient and we're trying to fix it, but I did want to point that out.
Okay, no, that makes sense. I don't know why, but like when I had just clicked on it, I was like, wait a minute, it's just working, but then I
Yeah.
noticed there's two separate banners, so that's the problem. Okay. Thanks.
They will line up eventually, but for some reason, whatever the utility is, it's not a straightforward thing. So, okay. And I had briefly shown there the mural, and if you can find those two areas in the mural, you can, if you want to leave any comments there, like that about the website, we'll welcome those things, and we're going to talk more about the agenda as Matt said. All right, well, let me see, get back to the presentation then. And the next thing up was going to be the schedule of events, which we're also planning to talk about later, right, Matt? So we can come back to
Yeah,
this.
yeah. I think the thing I'll mention here is, again, like we want to make sure we understand, major significant items that, you know, are happening or occurring through the year, uh, to be able to make sure that, either we identify an appropriate event that perhaps we can work with, to have one of our on-site meetings, or to avoid, so that we don't have conflicts, to make sure that, again, we're able to engage the community and have everybody participate. So, we will circle back to this, as Roger said, towards the end of the meeting today when we talk about upcoming schedule and timeframes. But if you might, be thinking about, what you have on your calendars, or checking your calendar for any significant conflicts or items. We're trying to find the best mechanism to help us kind of crowdsource that information or populate it. As you see here in this slide, we do have a few items, identified coming up, particularly on some of the major ASHTO meetings, like the Committee on Design or Committee on Construction, those kind of things. But there are others that we know are surely out there. And likewise, if you go into the mural, and you see this particular slide that shows the schedule, there's the ability to add post-it notes. So if you have any events that are locked in with dates and times and locations, you can populate that in detail there and help us kind of crowdsource that information as much as possible to help us with future planning.
Great. So next up is going to be, summary of findings from meeting one. But let's just make time check here. It's one. Okay, yeah, we're in good shape. So um, we'll move in to talk about this now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think just to reaffirm, Roger, before you kind of go over kind of, what resulted out of the first meeting is, again, we want to make sure that we're understanding where the community is and having that engagement. And so, that's why we're bringing, these tools to help leverage those. If you've got any, recommendations, if you have access or know of other tools that could be useful in this space, certainly, reach out to us. If something comes to mind after the meeting or next week that, you're like, oh, I wish I would have brought that up, or this would have been a good item to mention, again, you can go back into that mural and you can provide those comments or provide that information. Roger and I, our information is easily accessible through the hub and other mechanisms. Feel free to reach out to us. I will say for myself, I won't always get back to you immediately, but as I go through my queue, I definitely will get back to you and respond to you. It just may not be, right away that day. Because of all the other things that we have in the pipeline. But yeah, so Roger, if you want to kind of
Yeah,
sort of
okay.
get
Thanks,
re-engage.
thanks, Matt. Yeah, so we wanted so in this section, this is kind of where we want to engage with you all. But first, we're just going to give a little overview of what happened at the first meeting, and what we learned from both the discussions there and the use of Mentimeter, the polling that we did. So I'm going to review those things first, and then we're going to open the Mentimeter back up and give you a chance to engage with us in the Mentimeter. And also, the mural is out there and these findings and the meeting one survey results are there. So if you were there and you have any comments you want to make or additions you want to make, or if you weren't and you have questions or something you don't understand, put them out there on the mural, drop them into the chat, um, uh, try to, um, get any questions, thoughts you have shared or into the proceedings here so we can take advantage of those in what we're doing going forward. So after we did the meeting one, these were kind of the high level findings that we um, identified as being critical for the meeting or the critical outcomes from the meeting. And I think this first one is no surprise. Having a workforce that's ready and dealing with everything it takes to get that in place is a significant challenge to scaling up. And there's the challenge of doing pilots, which is kind of where we are now, and then scaling beyond that. And so I think this is a really interesting challenge. And I'm sure that's one of the advantages or one of the ideas of connecting with these ADCMS projects. We can learn about the piloting and be thinking about this. The Oklahoma project that we're going to hear from on Monday. Katie, if I've got this right, this is an objective of that ADCMS and what we do to get there. That's part of what they're taking on, looking at. So we'll be considering that on Monday, and then moving more into that discussion at our next meeting. We'll talk about that on Monday. There's a lot of activity on standards alignment and interoperability. I would note that this includes, I think, really both the standards work, but also the technology work, the software tools that we have. And I think most of us would agree the software is out there. It has the capabilities to do BIM and support digital delivery, but it isn't set up to utilize the workflows and the standards and the processes that we want to try and share and leverage to advance the industry forward. It's kind of different silos that are trying to be broken down. So I think this includes both of those things, and it's an important concept. We need leadership. Many of us have talked about this. We've got to get not just those of us who are in there doing things, but also the whole organization, the executive leadership to understand and participate and be committed. And we've tried to consider that in this group and work on how we can engage people, but that's something to keep thinking about. Peer learning is still continues to be important, hence, the ADCMS grants, sharing on those. And sharing on what the pooled funds are doing. Pooled funds have a lot of focus on standards and interoperability, so that's kind of why we're really engaged with them. And we all want to do this across the whole life cycle. I think that's critical to success. And that's something that takes a continued focus to make happen. And, we kind of found progress is accelerating. And we do have organizations in either early or pilot stages. Some of those are starting to move a little further, but there's still a lot of need to continue to coordinate, train, and share. So this is what we found. And if this is in the mural, as we said, if you go over there and if you want to add any comments to those things, you can do that in here. And we'd welcome that. And we'll talk about it too. We can also, this is where we want to start getting some dialogue going on these things. We thought that it might be helpful though. I'll just take a quick look at these the survey results that led to those summary findings from our last meeting, but they're really, I think, pretty consistent with the summary findings. Just to, where people are, kind of reflects what that last statement said about pilots and starting to think about scaling. What are the first year goals for digital delivery? Let me make this bigger, it might help. Well, this is first year goals for the stakeholder group, but I think these priorities are more in alignment with the kind of summary findings, standards and technology development, training and credentialing. These two didn't quite make that final list, policy advocacy and legal matters, but I think we agree those are really important areas, and the priorities and the barriers sort of line up with each other. People still feel strongly we need good standards. We have to address change and training. And so these things kind of all conspire together. Technology needs to continue to advance to align with the standards and the processes, and focusing on data stewardship and governance and getting leadership. So I think there's the results that we saw from the first meeting are kind of consistent with those summary findings. So now, Mona, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say about the meeting one surveys and kind of our conclusions that came out of it, or we want to open up the Mentimeter now and use it to kind of take pulse on where this is and what might have advanced since then, to continue to give us some residents from the community to work with.
Yeah, thanks, Roger. So, I think that you gave a pretty good overview of how our participants responded at IHEAP, and I think we have a larger stakeholder group here today. So our effort, before I jump back over to the Mentee survey, is to really understand, instead of just giving a one-to-one copy of every survey question, we wanted to really progress our, I guess, learning around a few different parts. One would be what's changed. So really doing a pulse check with you all today that somewhat reflects the original questions, but allows us to call out movement or stagnation or acceleration since last fall. Um, and some of the questions you'll see will really help us reframe progress in terms of velocity, not necessarily maturity, which, I think is often more honest as well. And we ask a few other questions that are not necessarily re-asking what matters, but we're asking what's intensified, and helping us really create a before and after narrative without rerunning the entire survey. So, with that, then I will switch over and share my.
Do we, Mona, before do we have any questions in the chat? Or do we have anyone who wants to say anything about the first meeting that was there, maybe? Um, and we can also come back to that after after we do the new surveying.
Doesn't look like anybody's weighing in yet, or do we see anything coming in?
Well, you can ponder that while we give you some questions to interact with.
Absolutely. So I believe my screen is being shared right now. And so,
No, I'm not seeing your screen.
hmm.
Right. I saw it, Mona.
Oh, okay. So let's take a peek. I'll reset it. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Sure can.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, excellent. So it looks like we've got 174 people inside of Menti. And if you're not in Menti, you can go to menti.com using code 88621750 or use the link in the chat that Matt and others have dropped in. All right, let's move on to the next question. So this is going to feel somewhat familiar. Again, we're trying to really show what has changed for you this year compared to your efforts last year so that we can start to analyze any changes or, progress that you've made. So this question is really around which DDSG focus area feels most critical right now, and the platform will allow you to select up to two. So we'll pause here as the results come in. I'm starting to see them come in.
And let's make sure everybody has the link. If you don't, let's make sure they know where to get it. If they
Yep.
came in late or
Yep. So you can go to
um,
menti.com, menti.com, and
well,
right,
we can put the link right in, can't
yep.
we?
And
Yeah.
right from that page, you can also do 88621750 as the code, or there's the link in the chat that I believe has been dropped in there a couple times. All right. And if it's easier to do on your phone, you're welcome to do this on your phone as well, or on your computer. Both work just fine. All right, so we're going to close that section. It's interesting. So most,
Wait, no, give it a minute. Do you have enough results? Okay.
yep. Yeah. So it looks like most of you are saying that coordinating standards, adoption, and alignment is most critical right now, which seems pretty consistent with change management being, the priority, the largest challenge or need based on the last survey. So, second would be supporting pilot projects and case studies. Looks like third is workforce training and credentialing. A lot of this falls in the change management category. It's less technical and more organizational, which I can understand change management is always the largest challenge when implementing this. The technical piece can be complex, but the people and process piece is just as important, if not most important. All right, we've got technology development and deployment support there. The least too is interesting. Updating the national digital delivery roadmap seems to be the least critical right now. Legal and policy seems to be the least critical right now. So,
It might also be, we did restrict it to two, so that's a little
yep. Yeah, our hope with
constraining.
restricting it to two is to make sure that we are identifying the most important, because if we give people the opportunity to say something's important, I think all these things are important, but to be able to prioritize the things that are most critical right now is really helping us understand where that sits. All right, so looks like we're having a couple more people responding now. Roger, do you want to move on or should we give it another second?
Well, I think we're good.
All right.
You'll be able to come back to these results when we want to have discussion, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um,
We'll be able to look at the results in aggregate later. Yep.
So,
I'm gonna,
All right.
Mona,
Next.
oh, sorry, before you switch from that, I had my a hand up, but I'm sure with all the sharing, nobody could see it. I want to just add here, yeah, the change management part is a big part of it, but I think in some respects, um, at least from what I've gleaned from some of our change efforts, is there's people that are willing and ready to change, but they don't know what we're
Mhm.
changing. So one, it's a support of people that are the willingness to change, and then the other is what is the change? And when there's so many different, different methods or different paths, and people are looking for consistency, but when we have a lot of people trying to decide it, we don't get the same consistency. So I just wanted to voice that you're right with these options coming up of being changed, but I think sometimes it's the uncertainty in what exactly you're changing, not that people aren't willing to change either.
That's a really important clarification. I appreciate that feedback. And I think a big part of change management is establishing those workflows and those processes. And so, I think most people are excited about the progress, to move towards digital delivery, but to all the reasons that you've mentioned, there can be barriers. And so change management aims to address all of that, right? Building the workflows, building the processes, the leadership buy-in, the action plans, the priority setting. And so all of those things become critical as you look at change management as a broader bucket. So that's really, really good feedback. Thank you. All right. Let me jump to the next one. So, how would you describe your organization's position in its digital delivery journey? So, we'll leave this on here, and there are a few opportunities and options for you to look at as well. And really, the reason why we're asking this should be very familiar. If you were at IHEAP, we asked the same question as well. So this is meant to mirror the original question. But looking at it now compared to before, it's giving us a chance to show any movement or, like I said, stagnation, or are we seeing acceleration in any areas since efforts that began last fall as well? So some of the options is no formal digital delivery efforts yet. A lot of people, it looks like, are in the early exploration and pilot phases. Um, some folks are actively implementing across select projects, less so far. It looks like not as many are scaling digital delivery broadly. So somewhat consistent with what we saw last year. We've got a few more responses coming in.
We definitely have a lot more participation at this meeting, Mona.
Yes, we do. This is fantastic. It's good. All right, we've got 96 responses. That's great. 97, it keeps ticking up, so we'll just hold it here for just a second longer.
Can we get 100?
Can we get to 100? Yes. 99, we're almost there. One more person. Let's do this. Yes. Thank you. So again, the results are coming in very consistent that most of you are in the early exploration and pilot phases, or you're just actively implementing across key programs or select projects. Very few of you don't have a formal digital delivery effort yet, and even fewer scaling digital delivery across your programs. All right. So I'm going to give it 5 seconds and then I'll move on to the next question. All right. So the pace of digital delivery activity in my organization or project, has it slowed, stayed the same, slightly increased? Has it increased significantly? Has it accelerated rapidly? And the reason why we're asking this question in this way is really helping us to reframe the progress. Again, I like to talk about velocity, not necessarily maturity. And I think velocity helps us understand more honestly where we all are. Um, you know, So that's good to see. Some are slightly increasing significantly, accelerating rapidly. Wow, that's big. I like that. A few of you say that you've slowed. I'd be so curious to hear feedback on why that's happening. Is it organizational? Is it technology, driven? Is it some of the reasons that the team has mentioned here earlier that people want to change, but then the processes aren't there or the priorities aren't set clearly? Funding maybe could be a barrier. All right, can we get to one?
Anybody brave enough to say about what happened or willing?
So, Mona, as many on this call who know me, I am not afraid to come off of and say stuff.
Great.
Uh, it, I actually answering this question, I struggled. I think overall the program, like we've actually slightly increased, but on certain projects in certain areas, we have been finding it's been slowing. But that might also be given when we took on initiative to advance digital delivery, where we were at a starting point, where in certain aspects we were already doing a little bit of modeling and digital information, but ultimately we would dumb it down at the end of a project. And so we would lose some consistency on that. So now on certain projects where it comes to you're going to progress that through the end of a project and provide that information, the slowing could be that it's more detailed work. And so if you had started some initial digital efforts early on, the slowing might be more project focused, maybe not from a program focused. That is, you're just seeing that the projects, because of a lack of training, educational, the improvement gap that has to happen, that some of the staff, it's like it might be slowing a project down, but ultimately you're getting a better product at the end. So at least that's one viewpoint that we have experienced on some projects, but I didn't actually check slowed, so somebody else might have to actually answer that one.
That's great feedback. Thank you so much for weighing in. I see Jacob has his hand up. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I do have my hand up, and I wanted to kind of add on to what Devin was talking about. We've seen ours at TxDOT really increase rapidly. We accelerated rapidly, but that came from really our administration really starting to find value in this and really starting to mandate that our districts participate. And so if when we talked at IHEAP, we had like 8 pilot projects. Consequently, the next week we had our Texas statewide transportation conference. And at that conference, our executive director mandated that every district have a pilot project that lets by the end of 2027. And so we went from 8 pilot projects to like almost 40 pilot projects in the matter of months. And so we are now accelerated rapidly, and we are really finding it finding it difficult to keep up with the things that, to Devin's point, the training and all that stuff like that. We've really had to ramp up our thought process on how are we going to get this proper training to all of the folks that need this across the 25 districts and in all of our area offices and construction part of it and all these different parts of it. So just wanted to share that little tidbit.
Thank you so much, Jacob. Yeah, I mean, the pace of, there's always a risk when you grow so fast, so quickly that there are pieces such as training that need to really be in place or need to catch up to keep up with the pace of growth. So it is also really interesting where you talk about like the mandate. I can't remember who mentioned that, but, that sort of leadership requirement makes it almost forces our hands to make this a priority and to find solutions and to begin to prioritize how we take on digital delivery at a bigger level. So it's good to see that more leaders are seeing the value in this, and that direction is becoming more and more clear across the states.
It really does help with the messaging, right?
Yeah.
To your point, Mona, we were fighting a little bit of, well, we don't really see the value in that, and we're not really going to do that in our district, and our contractors don't want it, or these are all things that we heard. And now that our executive director has come out, it's like there's not that conversation anymore. It's more of well, how are we going to do this? What assistance do we need? This is the direction we're going. So that leadership buy-in is really, really critical.
Fantastic. Yep. All right. I'm going to move on to the next question.
So, oh, sorry, Mona, I did I
Sorry.
did want to just also like add on to something Jacob said that I didn't think about until I heard him say it. We've experienced a similar thing in Caltrans where we have a lot of leadership and people who are excited about this, but we are not able to keep up with the demand when it comes to the support services to expand it to something that is more robust. And so the program has stayed fairly small in where we have targeted effectiveness, namely because everybody sees the value, everybody sees the benefit, everybody sees the direction, but we don't have everything figured out and we don't have the self-sufficiency in place yet that is allowing people to take it and run with it. So that development of those support services is, I guess not allowing it to increase as significantly as it could, and in some cases might be slowing.
That's really interesting. So is it support services internally through staff? Like you just don't have
Yes.
the resources to ramp up, or is it
Yes.
contractor service?
Yeah.
That seems to be consistent with a lot of what I'm hearing is we've got the pilots, we want to do it, but we don't have the people to get it done.
And you've got a lot of DOTs on here. I don't know how many other DOTs have the structure that Caltrans has, where we still do 90% of our work in-house. So, we still have 90% of our design and construction work is done with state resources. So that means we've got a whole host of state staff that have to have that headquarters and process support, have the standards development in that. It's not something by our organizational structure that we could farm out to folks that have maybe already been experts in this. We've got to kind of build that expertise from within. And so when you've got a big program, but you've got a staff of like 10 people in the department that are supporting all the projects when they need to know what's different, it's hard to, I added a comment to the Miro board that, yeah, the funding and the support structure, especially when budgets are low, it's hard to get that level of support necessary to keep the project staff effectively doing what they need to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. Very good feedback. Thank you. And for everyone else, please don't be shy. Add your comments in, raise your hand, jump in while we're doing this. I'd love to hear from all of you. All right, so next question is which drivers have become more important for advancing digital delivery in your organization? So here you can pick your top three. I know all of these are important to some degree, but we want to start to understand, where you're prioritizing your efforts and, really start to understand the shifts in some of these primary drivers. And so it's not about re-asking what matters. It's really like we're really asking like what's intensified for you this year compared to, fourth quarter, third quarter last year. And so for folks who are saying other, I'd love to hear whether it's in the chat or if you can unmute and share with us what would be the other. Okay, I see faster delivery or quicker pace. Okay. Thanks, Ben. So quality and consistency, I think that is the front runner so far. We've got 96 people who've responded so far. Can we make it to 100? Better decision making, efficiency and cost. So efficiency, cost savings, improved collaboration, and better decision making are sort of almost tied for second here. Less on regulatory and compliance, consistent with the results of the other question. Safety and risk doesn't seem as much of a concern, although it's there. So I'll read Taylor's feedback. Jacob probably has more insight on this than me, but my impression is Texas DOT administration wants to be one of the national leaders in digital delivery. which is one of the drivers. That's fantastic. Interoperable data sets. Thanks, Matt. That's good perspective. So interoperability is critical. All right, any thoughts or questions on this one as we finalize the feedback here? You know, Devin,
Hey, Mona, just to point out to um, Devin and Jacob, I tried to capture what they were talking about in a note in Mural. It's in there where it says Mentimeter comments, so just fix it if it's wrong or say something if you feel like it.
so it's interesting. So, Jonathan, you said the cost savings is important, though it's very challenging to get actual cost savings figures. We're working on some of this right now with the Michigan Department of Transportation, where we're trying to quantify the cost of staying the same versus the cost of change. And it is a difficult number to get to, but there is a process that you can work through that can help achieve that. And sometimes there is a ramp up cost or a ramp up in time, both hard and soft costs. So as you begin to deploy um, these pilots or start to advance digital delivery, initially it may feel like more time, more cost, more training, more, resources and effort. But the long-term gain, I think, is more efficiencies and all of the, benefits that we know digital delivery can bring to national and state DOTs. It's all very good feedback. Thank you. Any other verbal comments that anybody wants to make? I see Will, your hand is raised.
Yeah, hi. I will say that um, there is ROI stuff that is being put out by Building Smart International. So some of your international peers it's not specific just to DOTs, but there certainly is value. Singapore has seen tremendous savings in time and cost and efficiency, and so they've embraced it wholeheartedly. So you can find international examples.
Yeah, that's a good point. Will, I'd highlight a study from the UK that is pretty transferable to the US, I think. Unlike maybe, well, no, I won't say unlike, but is pretty transferable to the US. So I have that thing. I'll find the link to it and share it somehow when I get a minute here. Yes.
All right, so I'm going to move on to the next question here. Question is, which barriers are getting easier to manage since last year? So here you can select up to 3, and there's a lot of options. So I'll start to read some of them because it is a little smaller on the screen. So first one is limited executive leadership support. I think we've already talked about that. Resistance to change is the second one. Technology investment costs. Standards and interoperability challenges, data governance challenges. So really it's around ownership and stewardship, data steward resistance, data security and privacy concerns. We heard this quite a bit around AI as well as, that is a limiter specifically for AI. Skills and training gaps, we've talked about that. Increased awareness, that's quickly becoming the top one so far. Awareness is really leading right now. And so what we're trying to do by comparing this to the survey results that we had last year is I really, we're hoping to create a sort of before and after narrative without rerunning the entire survey, right? So, you know, um, this will help us understand what's getting easier based on some of the challenges you've had before.
Mona, while the results are coming in, the previous question we were talking about the efficiencies. There's another study that was where we started, and it's the information coming out of Norway of what they have learned of how BIM has helped them on the projects where they've implemented it. And these numbers are very rough, but they're numbers that have stuck in my head. So just for awareness of the group, They found that on projects where they used BIM, they saw a reduction in 90% of change orders, and an average overrun went from like roughly 20% of a cost overrun down to like 3 to 7% cost overrun. So it's, what they were showing was really that you're still going to have change. There's the unknowns, but they were ultimately eliminating the things that could have been proactively resolved, and your cost increases over the course of a project were reduced. So, but yeah, like we've also seen the same thing where it's going to be some more time in to get that benefit, and then helping people to understand that story that you're going to find some efficiencies, you're going to find some improvements in your process flows and how quickly you get through something, but you might still spend more time in your design and planning phase, but you're looking at a project as a whole, like how are you getting efficiency overall? And then how does that play into that better decision for the future? So there's another study there that, or a set of information that they have shared, but if you get the information from them, it's in Norwegian and they don't have an English translation. So it's kind of hard to get the proper information from their translation too.
That's funny. Well, there's a lot we can learn from each other. That's why we're here to talk. And there's a lot that we can learn from transportation agencies, abroad and around the world. And that's really helpful. If you have a link to that study, maybe, yeah, try Google Translate or ChatGPT Translate. That might be really good. But you could drop the link inside of the chat here if others want to take a look at it as well, or put it inside of the mural board. That's a really helpful resource.
Yeah, I'll have to search for from one of my old staff who found that and had that conversation with them.
Sounds good. So Randall says costs are should be basically irrelevant. Digital delivery should only be about delivering a better final product that we can maintain and manage in the long term.
Well, I think that's an interesting comment. This always comes up. What's the ROI on this? How do we prove it? But you can't just stand still. And clearly, using tools and processes and always improving them is what you need to do. So it's a little bit of a elusive goal to say you're going to identify ROI real conclusively. But you can do specific studies, I guess, and get some support for what's needed to convince people to not stand still.
Yeah. And it looks like, overwhelmingly increased awareness is a barrier that's, becoming easier to manage. So that's great. Awareness is really the first step here. Limited
Yeah.
executive leadership support, resistance to change look like those are the second two. So that seems pretty consistent with the things that we've been hearing as well. All right, so I'm going to jump to the next question. So, in the prior question, we talked about what's getting easier. Now it's the same, items that you can select for. What is becoming more difficult? I know a lot are becoming more difficult, but if you had to prioritize, all right, so I'm seeing technology investment costs coming up there and data governance. A lot of the conversation has been around change management, so it's interesting to see the tech itself and governance itself becoming something that's challenging. Does anybody want to maybe unmute or drop anything in the chat to help add any color to if anybody responded with technology investment costs or data governance? Is there anything that you want to share that would explain why you think that is, or, some ideas that you have on how that's being managed, Katie?
Yeah, I would say with the technology investment, there's so much technology out there right now, and it's coming at us so fast. It can be really hard to sift through all of the different things that are out there and try to put together a technology stack that works for you. And then, of course, as soon as you do put some things together, like more new features come on, and then trying to figure out how those fit together, or you might have some legacy apps. how does that fit with new stuff coming in? Or do we have to transfer all of this legacy stuff to new apps? And then how do you move that data? Or where are you keeping old data? What are you doing with new data? It starts to become very complex pretty fast.
Yeah, thank you for that feedback, Katie. I can understand and see that. I wonder if having more specific guidance on how to select the right technology could be helpful, right? Like almost like a checklist or like a short document that is the, technology procurement guide and maybe a process that DOTs can follow to help them through that decision matrix.
I think that would be some helpful information, but I think oftentimes DOTs are going to be presented with a unique challenge each time too. So having some basic information to help tell that story. We're going through the process of putting together everything for the selection of a common data environment right now. So there's also whatever the state requirements are, you have to work through for your procurement, making sure you're justifying it. But then the investment part, oftentimes like I agree with everything was Katie was saying, it's hard to develop that technology stack, but then how do you justify it to the budget people that you need to work with for these increased investments? And if you come to them and say, we need 2 pieces of software that offer the same functionality, but they're important to have for different phases of a project, how do we sell that when we're basically doubling the cost to get all the efficiency and benefit out of it? So maybe it does lead back to the ROI of when it comes to getting the budgetary approval, when you have to go to DOF to ask for more money, or whoever your financial group is, to ask for more money to cover this if you don't have it within your budget. How does the overall process that you're trying to establish, the standards, and then that supports the fact that no one tool is going to help you solve this?
That's really great feedback. Fantastic. Yes. Yeah, building the ROI for any short-term investment or upfront investment that you make compared with the long-term savings, I think is going to be really critical as you get buy-in from the leadership. I want to draw our attention to one comment that, let me see, where is it? Is it Jess Baker? An option missing from the question is how to protect design IP. That's a good one as we move towards digitization. And she says, I'm curious how others handle clients asking for digital files, models of the final design. How do you protect that IP? Is there anybody that can weigh in on that? Any thoughts from our panel? Will, Katie, Jacob, Devin, others?
And we put Alan on the spot. Haven't you guys dealt with this, Alan, in your project that you've moved to model as a legal deliverable? If Alan's still here.
I am. I just got back. Sorry, I stepped away from my computer for a minute.
That's what you get. We caught you, Alan.
I know you caught me when I walked away real quick.
I promise I don't have a camera in your office.
I got you.
So the question, Jess Baker shared a comment that says an option that's missing from our survey is how to protect design IP as we move towards digital delivery. So she's curious, how do others handle clients asking for digital files and models of the final design, how to protect that IP? And do you have anything that you want to add?
So as far as, IP, so your intellectual property, if you think about it, the consultants and stuff that are doing work for the DOT, that's really ultimately our property. That's what we're paying for. So we're working towards that, common data environment where we have most of our consultants, or getting most of our consultants into our project-wise environment. So as they're working on that, we have, a workspace state kit that they're also utilizing, that we're providing. So we also have multiple groups working with our ACEC and so forth. So as we build out this workspace, it is locked down. There is, the ability to request to get stuff into that workspace, because as we are building the workspace and building out, additional features or layers, levels, and so forth, we need to have that controlled. So with controlling that, we're able to automate and develop items to, check these projects and so forth. So there's not, consultant A does it one way, consultant B does it another. It's consistent across the board. So, we do share out all of that information, and we share it between, consultants as well, as consultant A or B. Hey, we need, this cell developed or whatever. We're bringing that into our environment, putting that into the environment, and then everybody is able to use that. So there's no need for anybody to create their own workspaces, as they're able to utilize, the DOT's, workspace and information. So that's how we're dealing with that, intellectual property.
Thanks so much, Alan. Curtis said that perhaps a matrix to address the connectivity required. Let me see. You guys are dropping in so many comments. It's scrolling up. I lost that comment. To ensure an app and any app is capable of plugging into the main data infrastructure and deliver the minimum requirements, preferably the maximum requirements. Very good feedback. Thank you all for dropping all these great comments in. And I know that we'll be able to capture all of this. Roger, this is just for us and Rackley to keep an eye on that. All of these comments, we should move over to Mural.
Yeah.
Mona, I just want to highlight, I saw a couple of hands pop up in the
Okay.
attendees, but they went down. So I was trying to find a place to interject. But if there's anybody that's, not a panelist who wanted to raise their hand, and we can figure out how to patch you in. I think I saw Andy was one and there was another one, but don't let us discourage your dialogue. If you have something you want to contribute, raise your hand and we'll find a way to get you voice.
I see two hands up or one.
So Gary Rackley, can you help us get
Right. And also for panel, if you're finished speaking, please lower your hand because it will obscure. I think the problem is that it's obscuring other members from us recognizing it. And so when you're finished speaking, if you would just lower your hand, I can do it for you. But anyways, yes, Gary.
So, you asked technology investment costs, how that was becoming more difficult. Really, for the state of Oregon, we're just going through a really hard time with budgets right now. So any discussion where we're trying to spend money is basically just greeted with a flat out no, regardless of what it's going to give us.
Yeah, that's a significant challenge.
On the
And the driver is funding, Gary? Just funding availability or grants?
Yeah, the driver is funding. Basically, our right now, for instance, in our current biennium, we're $242 million in the hole that we're looking for the legislature to actually either fix, or we're going to lay off about 500 employees.
Yeah, the juxtaposition of managing that budget and our people resources compared to advancing something more holistic like digital delivery, it becomes very, very complex at a local level. Thank you for sharing that, Gary.
Will? I saw you got your hand up. You've been patient. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say quickly, the Infrastructure Domain Steering Committee for Building Smart International is recently at Berlin, we became more aware of work that needs to be done on kind of security to better empower that within the IFC. So that is something that we are starting to wrestle with, but I agree. We do have to make sure in an open data environment we have means to protect the data and support model as legal document or delivery. So
Thank
that
you.
was it.
Evan.
Yep.
Yeah, going back to the IP conversation, I wanted to add a little bit from a different perspective than Alan, because I've talked with Alan a few times about what PennDOT is doing, and we've gotten some information from them to help us. But the one thing we learned from those conversations is, yet again, we have a complete, like, almost a complete inverse of how we have people responsible for delivering information. So being a heavily state staff focused organization and some unique professional engineer, professional land survey laws that, from what I understand, are unique to California across the country. That's a big point of conversation for us. So up until this point, we've been utilizing AMG information as information only for quite some time. So it goes out as the information handout, but our legal documentation still points back to the 2D information. So, but that's really mostly just surface shapefile information that's being provided. As we move into this world of BIM and delivering more information, I'm not the expert on it from within our organization, but I know enough to speak to be dangerous. They are working on a process of, for each responsible unit delivering information on a project, how do we have a lockdown of that information? So we've got the working files for staff internally, and then what are we delivering out to industry to utilize in building? How do we make sure it's, read only, or it's not changeable, or we have steps in place that if changes need to be made, we're just following a process to do that. So to whoever asked that question, just wanted to add a little bit more context.
So really, Devin, you're talking about locking down at an element level, right? Within a model.
Yeah.
For that, Devin, for PennDOT, we do lock that down as far as when we deliver that as a project. So, what you're signing and sealing and so forth is basically locked down. And we utilize what we call our certification memo to lock that down. So you can download those files. The contractor can download those files, but it comes with what we call basically an MD5 checksum. So it's about a 20-some digit code that's a digital fingerprint of that file. So as they download that, our basically the document of record that is held within our system, we host it within our ProjectWise environment, but there's a link into it. If they download those files and there's a program set up that they can check their MD5 checksum, that digital fingerprint, with ours. If it matches, you still have the current files. Ours is always the document of record, but they can check that to make sure they have that. So if they would go in and modify that DGN anyway, that digital fingerprint changes. So we do lock that down. It's just on the design side, that's where we're sharing, that workspace or, state kit or whatever. We're sharing that, with all of our consultants that can utilize that.
Right. The part that I think is a little unique to us, and each functional group that has responsibility for certain parts of it, we're also maybe running into that a little bit, that even internally we have some intellectual property, you can't touch my stuff. So here it is in view only versus how do we work together?
Yep. So even with our certification memo, I have probably, there's a couple projects, I have probably 8 different signatures and seals on it. But when we give that out, it lists those different files that they're actually signing and sealing, they're responsible for. So we have that broken down as well.
Okay.
Yeah, this is an interesting, maybe this is a subject for more digging into more in a future meeting. I know in the next meeting, we're thinking about looking at ISO 19650 and the CDE component of it. Seems like this is related to that, what you described, Alan, and it does also seem like a place where leveraging what's working in one environment would help a lot of others to do things in a similar way as opposed to trying to figure it out differently each time or slightly differently. So this seems like a good topic to put on our list of for future continue or for continued exploration.
Thanks, Roger. So I'm going to move on to the next question in the interest of time. And so this part of the question, what is our question series? What's the biggest gap between digital delivery vision and execution in your organization or projects? Really the gist of why we're asking this question is we're really, now moving toward, vision to execution and trying to set up the roadmap for our work together and the upcoming workshop in March that we have and that conversation. So we're really trying to understand where you believe those biggest gaps are. So appreciate you continuing to take the survey in Menti. We've got 204 of you in there. I'm hoping we can get to at least 100 survey responses again.
Why don't we have all of the above on this list?
Yeah, everything. It's all a problem. So far it looks like the tools exist but are not aligned with the standards and the workflows. That seems consistent with what we've heard with you so far. Workforce capability lags strategy, that's a big one. Executive alignment is missing. We've heard that a few times now today. The tools exist, workflows do not. We know that that's a big reality as well. Thank you for continuing to weigh in. This is fun watching it in real time change.
How many questions do we have left after
I think
this?
one or two. I think just one or two.
Yeah, we're going a little over, but I think have a little
Or this
shorter
actually might be the last question.
ash
Really.
to.
I think
Okay, well, it's okay. I think we're still okay, but
Oh no,
we
we've
have
got one more question. One more.
we have some float, so we're all
yeah.
right.
All right. Well, this has been a really good conversation. I love that the survey is being used to stimulate a discussion amongst the group. And so, we encourage you to continue to weigh in both in the chat, but then raise your hand if you're a participant or a panelist, and we'll unmute and have you share. That's the whole objective of what we're trying to do here is to get everybody to talk and communicate and collaborate. So far, what I'm seeing is the tools exist but are not aligned with standards and workflows. That's overwhelmingly so far the front runner. But executive alignment, workforce capability lags. Less so the data exists, governance does not. All right, we'll give it another minute and then I'll move on to our last question.
Yeah, I think that this result does go a little bit to what I thought we heard before too, is this idea. I mean, we need standards, we need processes, and we need the applications to adopt and utilize them. There's a lot of technology out there, but does it do what we want?
All right, so I'm going to move on to our final question. It looks like the survey taking has slowed down. So our final question is a word cloud. And so one or two words only, if you can, where should DDSG focus to deliver the most value in the near future? We're trying to find a fast visual way to make sure that we're aligned to the expectations and needs that this community has. Standards is a big one. I love it. Education, integration, those are two big ones. Communication. So aligned workflows is another one that seems to be coming up quite a bit here. Processes and workflows and standards. That's big. The people, process, and technology. We can have the right technology, but without the people and the processes aligned, it becomes difficult to make progress in a meaningful way. Is there anything, as this is coming through and we're finalizing this survey, are there any pressing ideas or thoughts that the team wants to share? Please feel free to raise your hand here so we can unmute. Devin shared that a missing option was willingness to adopt, but lack of understanding of how to transition to the wanted state. That's a very, very good one, Devin. Thank you. Any other thoughts or comments from the team here today? I see a panelist. Hey, Katie.
Hey, I just wanted to say I really appreciate this group because I feel like it brings more people into the conversation. I think that's just really, really important. Even if your DOT hasn't started any kind of digital delivery initiative yet, just knowing what's out there is really important. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Katie. Any other thoughts or comments or feedback? All right. Well, I'll turn it back over to you, Matt and Roger. Stop sharing. I think, Roger, you're muted.
Yeah, I was typing. Thanks, Mona. And yeah, thanks everybody for your discussion there. And a good, I think, like you said, demonstration of what we want to try and do and collaborate. I see there, did we figure this out? Do we have any issues with people, everyone that wants to contribute, communicate, being able to? Guess we got anybody that wanted to speak that didn't get a chance, just given the last opportunity for that. What do you think, Matt? Is there anything else we should? I guess, we got into this saying we had the meeting one, and we collected input there. We recorded what that is. Now we've done another round of that with this meeting. We've obtained some great input, which I think can be, put into a number of different directions. Um, and between what's in the chat and what we've got dropped into the mural, we should really be able to get a lot out of this that we can use going forward. Because the idea here is we're trying to use this input to guide where we're going. And yeah, this stuff we dropped in these survey questions here in the mural. So if you want to continue to try to use the mural and add anything to it, please feel free to do that. We'll keep using it and working with it. And I don't think there's anything else. Well, after we have our ASHTO segment here, we're going to come back around and talk about the next meeting and where we're going. And so that some of these things, the idea would be to try to translate them into what we put into the agenda of our workshop and where do we need to focus and dig in more deeply. So I think we got some good input for that. So maybe that's good for now, and we'll move on to the next section. Matt, anything else?
Yeah, just I think everybody to keep in mind, again, like as we move forward, we want to take this information, but be able to identify where the priorities are for us to try and, bring our collective resources to address. So if you've got suggestions, in the mural about, what are you really struggling with? What's been a big issue or hurdle for you, or where is there a gap? I think those in particular will help us to kind of figure out the priorities and where we may need to strategize to try and find either additional resources to address or to um, establish some sort of working groups or other targeted efforts as we move forward. Um, I think for us to be able to come back and, have, hey, this is a priority, this is keeping us from moving forward and being successful, and be able to say, well, here's how you address it, or develop a research needs statement perhaps as one option to get funded to address that. Engage, a technology vendor to address, why, et cetera. That's going to be very helpful for us to, so that way we're not only are we capturing, where kind of the current state of practice is, but where we can be most targeted and beneficial in contributing or having activities of action. So I just encourage everybody, um, you know, to
Okay.
provide those in the mural, and we can then circle back to the DDSG and have more targeted conversations and targeted activities.
Okay, well then, I guess we will move on. But yeah, keep that all in mind, everybody. Um, Devin, is your hand raised a recent one or an
Yeah,
old one?
I have a quick question before going into the next part of this. I'm trying to do my due diligence and look through some of the stuff on the Miro board, and I wanted to just confirm something on the schedule here, the DDSG schedule, these dates that are targeted for the future. I know the next three, they're the virtual ones. All of those other meetings that are listed, are those proposed times to combine this meeting into that week, or is that just an awareness of all the other activities that are happening?
I
The
guess you
the
could call
latter,
it, yeah.
the
Well,
latter, Devin. If you're talking about this particular what Roger's showing,
Right.
this is for us to be help identify where we have opportunities to either collaborate and co-locate and or
Okay.
avoid, so that we're not in conflict because it's going to take, either members or others away from being able to
Okay.
actively participate with us. So
Okay.
we will be discussing towards the end of today as part of the wrap up, kind of like the future scheduling and priorities and where we
Okay.
want to target.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
all right. Well, then I think, Tricia, are you here? Um, Good. See
I'm
you.
here.
Thanks. And I think maybe Jennifer wasn't able to join today, so um, maybe we'll start with Tricia, you going over what JSTAN is up to, what are the new things, and maybe give people a little perspective on JSTAN that may not be as aware as others. And then if I don't know if anybody wants to, if anybody that's on um, JTCES, Will or Alan, wants to just say a few words about what you're focused on after Tricia um, shares her presentation. And then I think this is really kind of informational, mostly for us to keep everybody informed. And also, if there are any things the DDSG should do, we would talk about that. Does that sound good, Matt? Maybe I jumped in there, but I was trying to, see if we're ready to go on to this.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. Let's see. I can make this a presentation.
I will maybe Rackley, if you're on, there's been a couple questions in the chat just about when we think the recordings will be available. Perhaps you can just verbally.
Right. So after this meeting concludes, it'll take a couple, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours for this to get processed, and then we have to find a way to uh, clip it appropriately and put closed captions on it, and then we have to post it on our website, which we're currently working on for the previous iHeap meeting recording. That should be done any day now. Once we've done that for the first meeting, it should be very easy for us to do this one. So very, very shortly is my answer. Yeah, it'll be available in full, closed captions. A transcript will be available, all those things. Of course, the mural will continue to be available for all time.
Thanks, Rackley. And perhaps not, not before our next meeting on Monday, particularly maybe with the impending weather events that may impact a lot of people, including NIB staff. So
correct. I may have no power very shortly.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rackley.
Well, let's hear from JSTAN before that happens then.
Roger,
All right.
I have to point out, you guys, it says the only thing missing is the yellow brick road. That was my note right there, right? So I just had to point that out. That was for a different presentation, but I think it's funny because we just are missing the yellow brick road for all this, because that's how it's going to end.
Yeah.
Right?
Darn.
Forever an optimist.
Well, we can always keep looking for it.
So I put in the chat, you guys, the link to JSTAN. So I think that is there. I also tried to put it on the mural board. It's really small. I find the mural board to be awesome. It's just that it takes, every bit of my technology, like savviness sometimes. So I don't know how to increase the font on my sticky note, but thank you, Roger. Are you guys ready for me to start?
Yeah, sure, Tricia.
All right, awesome. Really glad to be here today and be part of this group. If you would have asked me 2 years ago if I would be sitting in a digital delivery stakeholder group, I would have said no way. And so I am just thrilled to be here. My background is in asset management, and I do have slides that I present to say, please, asset management people, get in the room with your design and construction folks and tell them what you want. So it's really been quite a journey for me to add what I feel like is my expertise area to some of the areas that I may not know as well, and that I might not chime in. So again, thank you for having me today and allowing me to be in this group. I want to give an update and put on my AASHTO subcommittee on data standardization hat today and talk about JSTAN. I did talk about this at our first meeting, but it's good, again, to just say who we are, what we're trying to do, and then give you some updates. So we were put together actually in October 2019, AR 1-19. I'll never forget that number probably for my whole life, but that this internal cross-committee multidiscipline group within AASHTO should be formed. And we were really formed. These are some words that we maybe don't always use with executives, but we want to coordinate standards, schemas, look at where the gaps are kind of across AASHTO with data standards, resolve conflicts. There's several sets of data standards that could exist within the maintenance community, as well as the asset management community, construction. And so we want to look at those gaps, resolve any conflicts, and avoid duplication of efforts across these committees. So you can see this, we're made up of the Council on Highways and Streets, which is policy, program delivery and operations, bridges and structures, construction, transportation system operations, which was added to our committee, design, data and analytics, performance-based management, and then the special committee on FHWA. And we are underneath data and analytics, so we are a subcommittee, and we do not have voting authority, we do not have funding, but we've been pushing to say that this is very important, and establishing this group and seeing the word standards. I mean, I want to take a picture and just put that like on my computer, that everybody cares about standards, that JSTAN is doing the right thing, wanting to move this forward. Thank you. Next slide. So what is our mission? This was established, I think, years ago with a chair before me. We have revisited this mission to say we are going to champion and coordinate efficient information flow throughout the life cycle of all assets, related information that comprise of our transportation systems. We're going to do this through open data standards, data governance, that schema word again, development, and collaborative public and private partnerships. Thank you, Roger. Next slide. So this is our membership. I'm really looking to fill vacancies. I have been for a while. We do not, it's probably going to be a question in the chat. Right now, we don't have friends invited to our meetings because we've been trying to establish kind of where we are so that, again, we can try to get some voting authority, get funding, figure out how is AASHTO going to adopt modern digital data standards. And so we've been trying to work on all those things. We have people that are interested in these vacancies, but I want to point out to you the people that are part of the committee. We've had people leave that have done amazing work. These folks contribute a lot of their time to really talking about it, to really promoting standards. I want to especially say thank you to Will Holmes. I could not do this without him. You've heard him today already. He's amazing. And so many other people, everyone I would consider to be just awesome partners and friends. So thank you. Next slide, Roger. So then what are modern transportation data standards, just so that we're all kind of aware on this. So agreed upon rules for how transportation related data is formatted, shared, interpreted. I find that when I talk about these modern data standards, you know, we're not talking about books. We're not talking about, we can say colors, green book, blue book. We're talking about now a common language that allows technologies like traffic, signals, buses, you know, apps to understand each other and work together. So those are modern transportation data standards. Next slide, Roger. I like it that you can move the slides. I never have it. I always say I need like a personal driver. I need a personal assistant. Thank you, Roger. So what happened was, I think I've been doing this for a couple years and talking about, again, JSTAN doesn't have the right to do, you know, voting authority and adopt, and how is AASHTO going to go about this? So in the 2025 AASHTO annual meeting in Salt Lake City, this was brought up, JSTAN was brought up at two different meetings. So the Council on Highways and Streets, which is mostly kind of engineering-esque folks at high levels across the agency. And there was a presentation, thank you to UDOT for doing that presentation and to talking about the urgency, the need for this, as well as the Strategic Management Committee. Those are AASHTO elected leadership and chairs of those modal councils. So great group. They decide more about policy. They discussed some of our accomplishments, some things that we've done, the pooled funds, probably this group, and then the collaborative work of the AASHTO committees, BIM and digital delivery. So those conversations were had. I wished I could have been, you know, in those meetings, but it was exciting to hear, okay, is something going to change? Next slide. So something changed, the light bulb came on, and they said, we need to do something. And so it's exciting to announce that this AASHTO task force on data standards, I specifically wrote exactly what was sent to me in the email because this can be confusing, terminology can be confusing. So this is called an AASHTO task force on data standards for digital delivery and asset management, and it was established. It was established by the Strategic Management Committee. It's going to be chaired by a member of the AASHTO Board of Directors, and then the AASHTO force will include the following chairs or their designees. So you can see those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 folks, including the director. And I get to be in on these meetings, really excited to kind of speak for the nation for JSTAN as well as I can on how we need to move forward with national standards. Next slide. And so the words exactly, again, because we have not met yet. So we're looking to meet hopefully in the next 4 weeks. And I'm kind of preparing for that meeting, thinking about what they need to know, all the work that we've been doing. But this new multidisciplinary task force will review the importance and impact of digital delivery on state DOTs, and they will develop recommendations on opportunities to enhance and improve integration of BIM and digital delivery across AASHTO structure. So how do we do this? How do we create, maintain, and publish these digital standards? This group is going to kind of figure out what is the recommendation on how to do this with the current AASHTO structure. AASHTO does not publish digital standards at this point. They just publish books. They have a way to do that. So we're looking at that structure and that process. And then reporting back to the Strategic Management Committee at the spring meeting. So we have to do a report in at 6 months. That means we have to get something done. I appreciate that, right? And then we need to make recommendations at the board of directors and the 2026 AASHTO annual meeting. So where does JSTAN fit into this? I could have made another slide. JSTAN is going to support this. JSTAN is going to be there. If there's questions, we're going to go back to our parent committees. We're going to, facilitate and have conversations. And where JSTAN is going to stay where it is in full capacity. We will have meetings every month, just like we have been, because that time goes quickly, as you are aware, right? You have 3 hours, 4 hours today, and it can go very fast. And so we need JSTAN to help support this AASHTO task force. So that was it, I think, Roger. That's my update. I'm pretty excited because I feel like we have movement. So I would just make a request of all of you to continue to reinforce the fact that we need digital modern standards and that needs to come through AASHTO. They need to be adopted through AASHTO. If we have that national adoption, I've talked to Texas, Caltrans, we're all such good friends saying, we need this. How can we get this so that then we can all, bring that back to our state and start to work towards, again, these standards across the industry. So I think that's it. Yes. Any questions, or do you want me to?
Tricia.
Yeah.
There might be some questions, but well, I have one if I can. Well, so I guess this effort, this strategic management committee effort, is really taking what JSTAN was going to be doing and elevating it to be across the whole of AASHTO at the highest level versus being operating under, like you showed us initially, under the other committees and giving it more strength, focus.
Yeah,
Is
and I
that what
see
you would say?
Kevin's
And I
on.
see Kevin has his
Kevin's on
hand up.
today too. That's awesome. So Kevin can chime in, but this task force isn't to do any. JSTAN still exists, and JSTAN's still there as a subcommittee. This task force is a special task force that was created just for a temporary amount of time to kind of determine the direction, and it is made up of like executive level folks or their designees. So that's good. So higher level decision makers, that understand across AASHTO, I would say the organization, the policies that can help to guide sort of what should we do within the structure. And Kevin, please feel free to jump in.
Sure. Thanks, Tricia. I think I would just add kind of from the AASHTO staff perspective, great presentation, Tricia. Thank you for that. And Tricia really hit on this. The idea of this task force is it would likely sunset within a year, bring folks together and really look at, I'll say, more the organizational model associated with this, where JSTAN is and will continue to work and plays a really important role. But how does that fit within all of our committees? Because data is integral to everything that we're doing, our members are doing, the DOTs and within the AASHTO committee. So it's to look at that. It's also to look at things like, okay, if we do have initiatives as we move forward, how do we support those financially and with the kind of the human resources side of things as well? So it's kind of a little bit more overarching, if you will. I kind of think of it as, it's not a perfect analogy, but at some point 50 years ago, somebody said, okay, how are we going to look at research? Because everybody's doing research. How do we do that within AASHTO? And we came together and figured that out. So this is it might not be a perfect example, but we're really trying to make sure that we have the structure in place to support the importance of the work that's going on here, and also really how to define what is AASHTO's role in this, because we have, in listening to the conversation earlier today, AASHTO has a role to a point, and then it's to our members and others as well on how to do it from the organizational side of things. And then Tricia mentioned it as well. It's also to look at what are the models out there for how we publish digital standards, because that's not something that we typically do at AASHTO. So hopefully that helps and supplemented the great presentation that Tricia just gave.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. And by the way, Kevin is one of the DDSG members, who I think we didn't get to introduce initially, but he's here now, so that's great.
Yeah, thanks for joining, Kevin. Tricia, question, I guess, follow up is like, do you expect moving forward that there's something out of JSTAN that would need our attention as a DDSG, or that you would prefer that we, contribute or comment on?
Yeah, that's a good question, Matt. I think we'll have to kind of take it one step at a time, but having this group available is awesome. I think what was missing maybe is the industry partners, and others, and having just open dialogue. So I'm sure I'm willing to give updates, and we can kind of take this as it goes with the task force and see where we are. How long is our group going to meet? I don't think there's an end date to this right now, right? The digital delivery stakeholder group?
No, there's not.
Yeah, okay. So I think there'll be lots of opportunity for collaboration.
Okay, excellent. Roger, I know that, so we don't have Jennifer Lloyd available. She, like Tricia, is leading AASHTO efforts on the JTCEES. I think we do have a few other members that are involved with JTCES. Not that I want to put them on the spot, but I'm going to. If anybody might want to just maybe briefly give maybe a couple items that maybe they're aware of, or might be of interest to the group, or
I
don't
can do that,
know.
Matt.
Perfect. Thank you,
fine.
Alan.
Sure.
Yeah.
So right now, again, JTCES is still finding their feet after recent departure with our chair. So now Jennifer Lloyd is now the chair, and Sam Woods from Georgia DOT is the co-chair. Two of the items that we are currently focused on. One is updating the digital delivery, I guess, guidance document that JTCEES put out a couple years ago. And the other large item that we are currently undertaking is the model viewer requirements. So what is required in a model viewer? So we are working with, we've held multiple workshops from the past probably 6 months or so. So with AASHTO Committee on Design, Committee on Construction, there was a workshop held at IHEAP. So there was a recent workshop held at TRB, and we'll also have an additional workshop to collect the input from our contracting community as well. So this is non-product specific model view requirements. So really it's laying out for software vendors of what certain personas will need in a model viewer. So if you're a project manager, what functions and functionality are you going to need to cover that persona? There will be a lot of overlap from multiple different areas, but it really breaks that down. And then it helps the DOTs per se in a way that, as you're developing training on what are those items that you're going to need to teach to a project manager or an inspector in construction and so forth. So looking at it holistically on that model viewer, not just on the design side or just on the construction side, because as we're moving these digital models through, you have traffic control technicians, you have utilities, you have all of these different folks that are touching a model viewer. What information do they actually need out of a model viewer? So not only helping the software industry help develop, products that meet our needs, because right now there is nothing stating of what everybody really needs. So instead of having a DOT say, I need, functionality A, B, and C, and another one saying I need 1, 2, 3, we're coming together with a collaborative, voice of saying this is what we need as the industry to cover this group of users. So that is one of the big efforts that we are undertaking with JTC EAS currently.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate
it.
It seems like you had a pretty good attendance at the TRB event as well.
Yes, I think there was great attendance. Again, they've been very interactive workshops to get this information out. What are those priorities that the industry's finding? So, and a wide swath of users.
Alan, I guess there are a number of model viewers out in the market. Do you use those as a starting point, or have you just basically gone back to process and requirements?
Yeah, so I mean, it's really looking at the functionality. So if it might be identifying an alignment or what. I mean, so it's down to the basic functionality of what you need as to view the model. So, and it's really looking at what is a model viewer and what is not. So it's not going to edit it. It's not going to schedule it. There's all of these different programs that ultimately have those different features that, will pull into this. But this is ultimately looking at how do we view the model? What are those requirements to view the model? Is it, that linear reference system to be able to see where you are on a project and so forth. So some of those basic functionalities are going to be cross-cutting on every, persona that you're getting into, but, there are different functionalities that, this one might need this specific task. So it's really trying to lay that out. So it's not really looking at any one vendor's product to say here they can do it, because we all know there's not one platform that does everything that we need. So really trying to lay out what are those requirements for each of the personas that are going to be utilizing a model viewer, and how do we view it and interact with that model.
And as I recall, there were quite a lot of personas.
Yes, very much so. I don't remember off the top of my head, but there are, it's well over 100 and some different personas that we're looking at. Ooh. So I mean, this matrix is going to be very large. So really laying that out. Because there are so many different people and roles that are going to touch a model. I mean, you figure it's your complete life cycle of a project to be able to interact with these models. So, it might be asset management, it might be, planning or whatever, but how do you view a model or view that model information?
Yeah. And even, like fabricators and others as well.
Yep. Yeah, this is not just internal to DOTs. You're looking at, the construction folks as well. So you have bidders, you have foremen, you have laborers, what do they need in this, and fabricators, suppliers, and so forth? How do they view it? How do they get to that information? What information do they need out of a model?
Yeah. Excellent. I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to have you maybe go into more detail with the group moving forward. But yeah, thanks, Alan, for stepping up and adding that information.
Sure thing.
Roger's taking some notes, I see.
Yeah, just took a few notes on what we heard from the AASHTO committees, and I guess that you might ask the same question of Alan, or it could be a future question. Maybe we'll put this a little bit more on the agenda for the next meeting to see what might this committee need from the DDSG in terms of, sounds like they're pretty engaged with a lot of different stakeholders. So from that standpoint, they seem to be getting input, but maybe there's a way, there might be things we could help with the DDSG.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put Alan on the spot to speak on behalf of the committee, but I think, he can certainly carry the message, back to the group that if there's a role that they feel like we can help or contribute to, we certainly would be open to that communication and dialogue.
Yep, I will carry that back.
And yeah, I see Tricia has to step away. Thanks, Tricia. Appreciate your engagement as always. Tricia's very busy. I don't know how she does it. She takes on a lot of great efforts and activities, and has been a big champion in this space for some time. And like pretty much everybody on the DDSG, it's not meant to say that nobody's engaged. I hope that didn't come across that way. People like Alan and Devin and Katie and Will and everybody have been big champions in this space for some time, and we're always looking for them to help guide us and provide information. Rogers, that's a good point. We got about 20 minutes. Maybe we want to pivot to Will. I see your hand. Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, well, there was Nathan had put something in the chat, and I just wanted to respond to it quickly.
Okay.
As far as development of IFC and ISO, that is ongoing and active and continuing. So IFC is not a static thing. IFC 4.3 is out right now. There is work to make IFC 4.4, which will include tunnels and some other things. And that will go forward into the ISO standard. IFC 5 is an ongoing effort that will move from strictly file-based to more of a service-oriented architecture. That will not be emerging immediately, but that is very clearly on the horizon, and a need that clearly not only the DOTs but everybody needs to be able to handle things in a more efficient way. So just wanted to let y'all know that's work that Tricia does at the national level, and then I'm working on the infrastructure domain steering committee. We are trying to bring U.S. interests to that. There is an effort starting to kick off, should be this quarter or next quarter, on asset operations handoff. So again, that specific move from once we get done with construction, well, what do we do with it now? So we are continuing to try to build out and further detail out the standard to support all the different needs that we, the DOTs, have. So just a quick update.
Yeah. Great.
Can I add to that for a minute too, ma'am?
Yeah.
Because I think on Monday we're expecting to hear from Oklahoma DOT, whose ADCMS grant includes looking at the process. I think IFC is great for information exchange standardization, but process management standardization is really better covered by ISO 19650. And I think Nathan's comment mentioned that. And what we're hoping to accomplish on Monday from Oklahoma DOT is hear about their ADCMS grant and maybe connect with what other DOTs are doing. And then in the March session, we're hoping to workshop a little more deeply on that, how to use it, what it does, how to connect with it and build on it and get some things going around a collective implementation of ISO 19650. I think we've got some real good traction on implementation of IFC through the work of the pooled funds, but we really don't have much going on ISO 19650. So this could be a way to point towards that and also add that here in the US, the ISO standards have been the mirror committee for those is run through ASHRAE. NIBS is in the process of working with ASHRAE on that to re-energize it and use it to advance ISO 19650 and other standards under that committee, which does include the IFC as well here in the US. So just mention that. And I see Katie has her hand up. So hopefully I said that all correctly, Katie, but please add on anything you'd like.
No, Roger, you did. I just wanted to tell you, you did state that correctly. And what I would say about ISO 19650, it's been really successfully implemented in other countries. It's just about how to manage your BIM processes. And it is a totally new concept to Oklahoma. And this is not something that we've ever done before, but that's because we were never really focused on managing data before, right? We were managing information on paper, but not really data. But ISO 19650 gives us a framework for actually managing data in a data lifecycle and not on paper. So we have definitely started to look at how do we really utilize that to our advantage? Because ultimately, what we're going towards is database processes, right? So,
Yeah, thanks, Katie. And come join us on Monday afternoon if Blizzard allowing to hear more about that. Thanks, Matt. I thought it'd be good to get that in there too. And
Yep.
thanks to Will for the update on IFC.
Devin.
Yeah, I love the way Katie just established that, and I would be interested to hear, maybe not in this setting right now because I know we got limited time, but I'd be interested to have a conversation with maybe some of the organizations that have started down a digital delivery path, and then things like ISO 19650 and other standards are coming up, and you're finding that you're having to shift from where you've started. Because this is, I'll share this. This has been a topic of discussion within Caltrans of some of the file format exchange that has been worked on for the better part of 10 years. As we've been doing some level of digital delivery, but this emphasis now on BIM processes and having things like ISO coming into play, how is that impacting others where you're finding that, I've had many conversations with Katie, they're kind of starting from scratch. So they're able to kind of start from the beginning. But if you've already gone down a path, how is that impacting how you have to shift? And if it's not a clear shift on all projects all at once, how that's getting managed for implementing on certain projects versus your legacy process on others. So maybe that's something we can That's a big topic, I recognize, and we could talk about that in the future.
I think that perfectly goes with what we want to talk about on Monday afternoon, and then hopefully dig more deeply into in the March meeting. So that's great,
I
Devin, and
I
yeah, we'll
won't.
keep tracking with you on that.
Okay. The Monday meeting is going to be recorded, correct? So there can be a recording sent out. Okay, because
Yes, correct. Yeah.
I won't be available on Monday. We have a planning session for our summit that's coming up in 2 months.
Well, okay, Matt, do you want to look at the schedule or there's a little input there for the agenda for March, but and I know another way we can maybe get what we can today with the time we have. I did allow a little time also at the end of Thursday for us to revisit this topic based on what we've learned overall. So
Yeah,
just to keep in
yeah,
mind.
yeah. We can keep coming back to that. These couple items here remaining on in the remaining of the meetings that we have scheduled to help us put together a strategy for our agenda and for the GIST event. Just again, a reminder here in Mural on the slide that Roger's on, and if you either want to follow his pointer or dive in there, we've got the details on the next hybrid meeting that we're planning to have in person as part of GIST. There is a very preliminary agenda, so that's likely to change between now and then. But we do have two half-day sessions, the Thursday afternoon and the Friday morning, for us to meet in person and continue the dialogue. If there's something that you feel like is important for the group to be aware of or bring up or have a dialogue on, again, the mural, um, you we want you to go in there and put a sticky note or something or highlight for us to be able to digest and dialogue with our members as well as we work out the agenda for the next one. And then for planning purposes, and I know a lot of our members had some conflicts and had to drop off, but in the remaining time, and specifically kind of ask, again, if you can help us to collaborate on any kind of items that are coming up. Right below that space where Roger is an opportunity to highlight any of the upcoming meetings that you are aware of, whether it's just, within your state or regionally or things that you're actively engaged with that would preclude you from being able to participate with us in this group. We're trying to crowdsource that information to help us thread that needle on scheduling and minimizing conflicts. If we take a look at uh, us having our next meeting in March as part of the GIST event, and then through the rest of the year, how we want to split that up. I know Jacob had mentioned previously that the next IHEAP meeting for this year, the 2026 IHEAP meeting, and I'll put the link in there in the chat for everybody again, for those that maybe aren't familiar with it, is a pretty large event that has been, not only a combination of trade show and vendors in this area of digital delivery, but I've been involved in this for some time. I've only recently become involved in iHeap and was able to attend. I wasn't able to attend the last one, but the previous one before that, Jacob had offered, and as being a member of the DDSG himself, and Texas being the host of the next meeting coming up, is that would be a potential venue that we could again host the DDSG. And if that would be ideal for the members, I know many of you, go to IHEAP, but we would certainly have to figure out how we would schedule so that we're not conflicting with your other activities and looking for much more time for us to dedicate to the collaboration rather than just the one session short 3 to 4 hours that we had at the last time at IHEAP. So we may have to piggyback like at the end again as part of GIST, where you would potentially need to stay, or we would hope that you would be able to stay a couple days later, or if that's not something that's desirable because you already got too much going on with IHEAP, for us to maybe target something separate. If that would be at the beginning of December for Austin, Texas, as IHEAP, which would then, if we were to have another virtual exchange somewhere between March GIST meeting and the IHEAP in December, puts us at like end of July, beginning of August for the next virtual only meeting, kind of in between those two in-person meetings. And so if there's something, in July, August that it would be a conflict, we certainly would want to be aware of that and either hear from you now about those, or have you follow up and go into the mural to identify those. But I will pause there and open it up to the members that are still online to maybe contribute on if you like the idea of IHEAP or not, if you like the idea of us continuing to try and piggyback on events with our, I will say, are not without their own logistic challenges for us to piggyback. There are good things that certainly come out of that for us to collaborate with other communities, or if it's something that a lot of our members are going to be attending already. But then to try and make sure we have enough time dedicated to collaborate and start picking up, action items or task group activities to where, we're not just kind of at the very end of the week and people are tired and still need to travel home. There are all those other things that are challenges to navigate as well, where potentially us having a dedicated time and facility, whether it's at a DOT complex or here at, our R&D facility in Northern Virginia or something else, is another option and another direction to go. But let me stop. I see Katie already has her hand up, so please go ahead, Katie.
I did. I was going to say that Committee on Design was in August last year, but somebody was typing. I don't know who put that in there. But it looks like it's August 16th through 20 in Des Moines. I don't know. I haven't seen that before, but that's really great information. Whoever put that there, thank you. And then I don't know if Jacob is still on this call or not, but I'm sure IHEAP, we can find a way to carve out some time for you. I'm sure we can work on that.
Okay. I see Mark in the chat has an item he's working on the late January and early February. That just coming around the corner. I see. And there's a link to register, I think. Thank you, Mark, for passing on that information. I'm sure that'll generate some interest. How many of the members still participating are going to anticipate being on site in March in Chicago? You could maybe just show of hands, or Katie is, Will is. I plan to be, as long as I get approval. Okay. I'm hoping we get, some of the GIS people to stay over and participate and engage with us. I think that's, kind of two communities that have a natural synergy in this space. We'll see how that works. I've again realized that us having our portion not to conflict with theirs and take away from their meetings, we had to go Thursday afternoon, Friday morning. Hopefully that's not too big of a challenge for people getting home Friday afternoon out of Chicago and the weather cooperates, etc. Maybe we'll have more dialogue and feedback on if that is ideal for everybody or not. Is iHeap, does iHeap sound like a good target for the next in-person? It would be the first week in December, kind of, squeezed in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Any thoughts? You all are very busy, I know.
Sometimes December is a tough travel month for people.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Katie, you expect to be at iHeap though?
Oh yeah,
Usually you are, right?
I will be there. Yeah.
Any
There,
others? Cassidy or Devin?
I will not be able to attend in person the March. But if there's the virtual option, I'll be able to attend. We have March is for Caltrans is a tough year.
Yep.
There's just a number of things that happen all in that month. I would also say, I agree with Katie, like oftentimes December is a struggle, but maybe that week of iHeap is potentially better than most. For the meetings that we're going to do in person each year, I don't know about the rest of the committee members, but I would appreciate if we could just get on a schedule that we could plan on year in and year out, that these are the in-person sessions, and that might give us the ability to get any planning and approval steps in place in advance and, get our travel blanket kind of stuff, figured out. And it's, even though it might be supported by national funding, we still have to get approvals for the travel part of it in our time. Or at least
Yeah.
I know I do.
Yeah. Thanks, Devin. That's helpful. I think we need to shop this with the other members because if that's a challenge that everybody's dealing with, then that perhaps might be our best pivot is to
But if
just
we
to have some times and locations just established and done.
Right. And if we could get on a cadence, I think that makes it real easy. And if it's matched up with something else, it makes it real easy to say, yeah, every year during BIM week, we're going to have a day that is the digital delivery, the DDSG. And every year during another one, it's, there's a day that is the DDSG. And that also gives us the ability to potentially attend those other sessions as well.
Yeah, I support that.
do you feel, how do you feel about BIM week? I see Jim put it in there too, and yeah, there's a lot of similar activities there, which can be both a plus and a minus, but it's a good opportunity where there are a lot of people doing things at the same time.
Is that Roger? That date's established, right? Sorry, I
It
forgot.
hasn't been fully pinned down, but the tentative plan is that first week of November. The location is still under consideration based on the conversation last week.
Okay.
And that's the most likely date unless something would go haywire, I guess.
I just think if we match up, the essence of what the DDSG is focused at trying to solve, if we're matching up with some events that are more aligned, I know that there's a lot of the Committee on Construction, Committee on Maintenance, those type of efforts. But not speaking for all the members, not all of us are necessarily on the Committee on Construction, so it might not be something that we would travel to. But if it's something that's, maybe aligns more with the focus based on our charter, I think, that to me, that would be more interesting. And there tend to be a couple of them spaced out. BIM week is a perfect example. We also stay very close in touch with what's happening with the pooled fund studies. what's happening with a couple of those committees that meet there. So it's, much more, it's closely aligned with this group's focus area. As far as another one sometime in spring, I don't know for sure. I put a couple of other ideas in there myself in some of the other notes of, even if it's not a federal or a government event, but if it's something that, it's a vendor event that gives an opportunity for these folks to also attend and get a lot of other interaction, like at Trimble Dimensions or the Esri UC. It's, maybe there's some advantages of, there's the committee group, but then you can also have that other interaction and experience with what's happening in the rest of this space.
Yep. Thanks, Devin. Appreciate that.
Right. I do just want to call attention, sorry, Matt, that it is in fact it's 3:01 now. And so people are starting to drop off. So if there's any I mean we can keep going, but if there's final notes that you'd like to give on everything, that would be the time to do so. I just want to say before everybody leaves that if you want to take an opportunity to later today or at any other time to go on the mural and leave a comment on anything we talked about today, I would really appreciate it. This is an excellent location to collaborate and leave opinions and comments and to keep up to date. I want to drag your attention really quick to the very top of the mural that over the course of the chat, I've tried my best to collect all of the links that were posted. That's at the very top. Under the big green today's meeting right there. So that's, I believe, all the links that have been posted, at least from what I've seen. Of course, there's all kinds of different feedback and things. The best place to leave feedback, if you just have general comments, would be in this general meeting comments. A lot of people have already left them, which is fantastic. Thank you very much for doing that. Yeah, if there's anything you want to see improved for the next meeting or meetings in the future via mural or otherwise, please do let us know here. Thank you very much. If there's any other meetings that you want to add, please go look at the DDSG scheduling section and leave them there. We've tried to pull in everything. If people aren't doing real stuff, we've been trying to do that. But anyways, thank you very much. I very appreciate it. Back to you, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, Rackley. Appreciate that too, as well. Apologize for running over. I try not to do that on a regular basis. We will have other opportunities to dialogue throughout the rest of the meetings Monday and Wednesday. With regards to scheduling, Roger and I will circle back with the membership as far as planning and schedules in future as we digest the events that are posted on the mural and come up with a plan on that one. We will see you on Monday. Just a reminder, the next session is at noon Eastern on Monday. And if you haven't registered for that already, it is on the DDSG Hub registration site. So we will see you Monday. Thanks for everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks.
Good to see you all. Good to be seen.
Hey, Matt, are you still there by chance?
I am.
Just one note from the other side, from this side. I don't know if it's maybe how you set it up and this functionality is not there, but I noticed that the like the expressions ability of, thumbs up, clapping, all that kind of stuff was turned off. The only option that participants have is like to raise their hand or not. So I don't know if that's a functionality that is just not part of this setup with it being more webinar focused. But I don't know if that's something you want to think about, maybe making sure it's enabled and you can just get some more general understanding of where the conversation's going when people can just, throw a thumbs up or something.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to ask. Brackley might know if he's still on.
I'm still here.
If that
If
Yeah,
I'm
if
not here, the
that's
meeting's dead.
good point.
Um,
Good point. I
yeah,
don't
I
know
mean,
if that's
there's
something
settings
we.
in the beginning how people weren't able to communicate at all via chat. I mean, there's a setting where attendees can chat, with everybody.
Right.
As far as using emojis, there's no
Well, you can put the emojis in the chat, but I was just thinking of
but
like,
you
the
can't hit.
simple, just like hitting a thumbs up or the clapping, so it kind of like, expands.
Oh, you mean like oh, I see. Um, I
Yeah,
mean,
when
I
you
don't even know if that's something that Zoom does.
it
I
Yeah,
it
I had trouble adding those in the chat to somebody's comment that I liked. You could
right.
do it in sequence, but you couldn't go to their comment and like do it
right.
on it. I don't
Yeah.
know if that's a restriction
I
in
think
the
that just might be
webinar
Zoom.
or what.
So I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I've been in a lot of, we don't use Zoom at Caltrans. We use Teams and WebEx, but
Right.
I've
Those
ex
definitely allow it. Teams and
right.
WebEx do.
But
At
I
least,
I've had other Zoom meetings where even if it's just, down in the raise hand, there's the little caret up, and usually with that, it gives you a list of, it gives you the other things you can do, but that's not present. And to Roger's
Yeah,
interesting.
point,
the actions.
yeah, and then to your point, Roger, I have, because same thing, like I was trying to, like, as I was trying to keep up with the chat somewhat, some of those comments of like, oh man, like I want to give a thumbs up to that, to like
Yeah, I'd
highlight
like
it.
to plus that one up.
Yeah,
Okay.
or reply to it, because that used to be a function that I recall. But the way you have this set up with it being more webinar style, maybe that's not something that's part of the webinar style. Maybe that's why.
Ah, yeah, that's true.
That
There's an
could
option
be
to
it.
convert this to a meeting, but then a lot of the sort of control features we would lose.
Right.
That can get chaotic
Which
if
would get when we
everybody's
had
in
it,
a
we
meeting.
had a good turnout. We had over 220-ish people on board, which is fantastic.
Wow.
It was a lot of people. And I'm trying to think, if it was just a meeting, that means everybody can control whether they're speaking or not, or their camera's on or not, which is fine if everybody is a upstanding, you know, technically literate individual.
Right.
Um, but I'm
And
just
I get for this, like you got to be careful with that. I just, as you were setting up the webinar, I was just pointing that out of like maybe in the process of establishing it, that those features might be something that you have to enable as well. So I just want to give you a perspective from this side, being somebody on the experience side, that there were a number of times I tried to do that and it just like I stopped trying to figure it out for a while, but maybe for the first like 30 or 40 minutes, I was trying to figure out
Yeah,
like,
I
do I
did the
have
yeah.
same
set,
thing.
do
I
I
mean,
have
even
something
on
turned
my end,
on?
I don't have the option to do that. I mean,
Okay.
when I go back in and I set up or I edit and adjust the webinar for Monday, I will definitely scrape through all the settings and see if that's something that's an option. I am uncertain. I don't know why that wouldn't be on by default, but
Yeah.
I'll definitely check it thoroughly, and we'll see. But I
Anyway,
appreciate the note for sure.
oh yeah, and thank you for keeping this moving forward. It really is appreciated. I know there's a lot of effort that goes into trying to organize things like this. So want to make sure you guys heard that, at least from me, that it is appreciated. And uh,
Well, we
Thanks, Devin.
definitely we appreciate your engagement and your willingness to be vocal, and your grace in hanging in with us because I know
right.
we're not without our challenges here as we get propped up here. But
Well,
yeah, thanks, Devin. Really appreciate
no,
it.
no problem. And yeah, this was just a little bit of info that, you might have, things like that. As much as we've been in this virtual world of doing things, a lot of people have just kind of deferred to being able to throw up a thumbs up or something like that. So yeah, just sharing that
Yeah.
of, if it's simply a setting, like you might get a little bit more engagement from other people as well.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. If it's setting, it'll be on for next time for sure. I'll find out,
are,
certainly.
Um,
are these going?
I tried to do the same thing, Devin. Like I
Okay.
was trying to like react or like like reply to or copy paste
Right.
but I will say that like when Federal Highway uses Zoom similarly, I it's been a little while since we've had one that I've been involved with, but I think we've had similar kind of restrictions in that webinar. I don't know if we can get around it, but we will look into it because I think if we can still have the control where it's not just random chaos of everybody, but we can provide some of that functionality, it would be good if we can do that. Yeah.
And by all means, a little bit more control so it's not chaos is more important than the ability to have some of that added functionality. So it's completely understood if it's just the way it goes.
Right.
Are
Yeah.
these going to continue to be a little bit more of a public forum style too, where we have, the members that are in attendance, but we could still have, another 100 to 200 people that are attending? Or is that just specifically, maybe I'm not remembering something from one of our previous meetings. Was that just specifically this one, which was meant to be like a bigger audience?
No, we've kind of been mandated, if you will, to be kind of open and public
Okay.
with the events. So for the main events, they will be of this nature where there'll be an open virtual component. Now, if you and the DDSG feel like there's a need for us to have certain whatever business items or something that's a little bit maybe more sensitive, I think we can certainly figure out a way to do that and make sure that we're addressing that need.
Yeah, it might not be a bad idea for the group to talk about if we want to have a portion that would be a closed session that allows for, a little bit more of highlighting challenges and struggles that may not be presented as much publicly. An opportunity, for the folks to, identify ways to work together to solve those. And, not that all the challenges are so horrible that they shouldn't be, but oftentimes it's hard to bring things up when it's, that many people. I think there were a few things I mentioned earlier on, and I might have missed the part and then looked at when I opened up the participants and I saw that there were another, 150, 170 other participants. I was like, oh.
Forgot about that piece.
Yeah.
I've heard that same comment from a few of the other members, so I think it's something that probably needs to be figured out as we go forward. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I appreciate the effort and the work, gentlemen. I will let you go. I know we were supposed to end 12 minutes ago, but thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take care.
Yeah, thanks, Devin.
I'm just happy people use the mural so much. We got a lot
Oh,
of good.
really worked out, I think.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just compared to what it was the last mural I saw that was put together.
Yeah.
This one was a little bit more controlled, and I think we got a lot of good feedback, and especially with the Menti survey. I mean, 100 people, it's definitely like a 50% or 100% increase to what it was last time at iHeap. That may just because it's a fully virtual and they almost don't have a choice.
Yeah.
But I mean, I couldn't be more pleased with the digital aspect of this. People were very open to leaving comments and getting information and stuff from chat. So
from
great.
some of the different, just a tidbit of information, you can take it or leave it. The Miro boards are great, but the more you can do as Mentimeter type of things, I think you're going to get more engagement out of that even than the Miro board, because that's just something that is so easy for somebody to just simply tap on. We've used that at our annual summit. We use that as a tool to capture all kinds of stuff from the audience. We use that to minimize how much we have to run a microphone around the room just to have people ask questions. Instead, have them put it into Mentimeter, and we could just have somebody repeat it. And it's like the efficiency you can get out of it, but it's so easy to do something like that. The more you do that, I think we're still going to get even more information, and using Miro as a way to just follow up on it would be great. So like what you guys did is perfect, I think.
Yeah, we do have people online still. Probably they might have been on hold or forgot or whatever, or they're still listening.
Yeah, I mean the webinar is still ongoing and everything is still being recorded. Just FYI.
Yeah. So. Well, but I don't think we were just talking about how best to use the technology, so that's all good. And the member part we can we might need to talk more about. So I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
I don't
right.
think any of us forgot and started picking our nose. So
Thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
absolutely.
Thanks, Devin.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks. Matt, do you want to caucus for a few minutes after? We can get on a Teams or something if that would be helpful.
I can't.
Or
Yeah, I got an appointment that I gotta leave for.
yeah, no problem. I think we've all
Yeah.
had enough. So, okay, we'll get set up for Monday. Maybe I will find a Monday morning time to talk, and we
Okay.
can reconvene then.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Be safe.
Thanks. Bye.